Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the regular meeting of council for Wednesday, September 3rd, 2025. We're hybrid in council chambers. All members are present in person except member Bald, Councillor Bald, who has expressed her regrets at not being able to join us this evening. We came out of an in-camera session that began at 4 p.m. and we'll just call this section of our meeting into order. I'll start with our traditional land acknowledgement. The town of Midland recognizes located on land which is traditional and treaty territory of the Anishinaabe people, now known as the Chippewa Tri-Council, comprised of Beausoleil First Nation, Rama First Nation, and Georgina Island First Nation. The territory is within Pre-Confederation Treaty 5 and Treaty 16 and included within the Williams Treaties of 1923. The town of Midland recognizes located on land which is the traditional territory of the Huron-Wendat and the historic homelands to the Métis, and our town is home to a large and diverse community of Indigenous people. I'd now like to deliver the following safety message. Should the fire alarm activate, pretty much the whole fire department's in the room here, so follow them, but please exit the room in an orderly fashion and proceed to the evacuation assembly area, which is located in the upper parking lot. You may exit through the main entrance, double glass doors, make an immediate left and proceed out the front doors, or through the secondary exit, which is right back here. Up the stairs, check the door for heat before opening, and if it's safe to exit on the second floor, turn right and proceed out the door in front of you. Washrooms, if you need them, are located on our second floor, and elevators located just outside the main entrance. As Midland has a respectful workplace policy, anyone exhibiting violent or harassing behavior will be asked to leave. Members of the audience are to maintain order and quiet, not to address council except with permission of the chair, and we'll have plenty of that tonight. All cell phones and pagers and electronic devices, this is always a good reminder for me, are to be turned off or set to vibrate or quiet. Anything that emits a sound basically set to non-audible. No person shall display signs or placards, applaud participants in debate, or engage in conversation, electronic or otherwise, or behave in any way which disrupt the proceeding of council. For anyone requiring a hearing assist device, please can advise our clerk, and they will arrange for our IT staff to provide you with said device. Council meetings are recorded via Zoom and are posted on our YouTube site. The meetings are also broadcast on Rogers TV Midland Channel 53, one meeting per month, and live streamed via Rogers TV in Midland, which can be accessed through the Town of Midland website. Individual recording, broadcasting, or streaming the meetings by the public or any member is not permitted without express consent of the clerk and all those present. Of course, we have our exception for our media friends that come to our meetings. So that being said, if I could ask you to join me in a moment of silent reflection, and we'll get into the agenda this evening. Thank you. I have a motion here moved by Councillor East, seconded by Councillor Patel. The council receives information and confirm the direction provided in the confidential verbal report and update provided by the Chief Administrative Officer at the regular meeting of council closed session held today, September 3rd, 2025, with respect to an organizational update. Council, we've had our discussion in camera. All those in favor? Any opposed? It's carried. Next, I have a motion moved by Councillor East, seconded by Councillor Ball. The council receives information and confirm the direction provided in the confidential verbal report and update provided by the manager of municipal bylaw enforcement at the regular meeting of council closed session held on September 3rd, 2025, with respect to an appeal of taxi license.
Excuse me, Mayor Gordon.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt, but the presentation to the firefighters was before all of the motions, and we still have to declare conflicts.
Yeah, you're right. I just dove right into my motion package. Thank you. I was testing out our new deputy clerk who I'd like to welcome here as well. But anyway, she didn't want to interrupt me. So thank you. Feel free to do that anytime I mess up. Folks, so I did have a motion half on the floor. We'll just leave that abandoned and get back to it. So we do. Section 6.1, if I follow my agenda, which is on my screen, it's our firefighter 25-year long service provincial medal recognition award. And we have our director of emergency services, aka fire chief, Chief Renaud, and myself, mostly Chief Renaud, though, to present the award to the firefighters, Jeff Beauchamp and Phil Kamen. So this is the long service 25-year provincial medal. So Chief, do you want to approach the podium and fill us in on this wonderful award?
Thank you, Your Worship. Good evening. Before I start with that, if I may, I'd like to divert a little bit. I'd like to identify firefighter Steve Paskin. Firefighter Paskin on the weekend was working on the weekend at his full-time job at Johnson Music on King Street. At the end of his shift, he was making his way to his vehicle where he noticed that a person in the parking lot was having a medical emergency. Firefighter Paskin went over to see if he can help and noticed that the person was not breathing and without vital signs. He called 911, began CPR and continued CPR until emergency services arrived. Because of his quick actions, the individual is alive today. And I felt it was important that we acknowledge his hard work. Now, he didn't know I was going to call him out like that, so I have a feeling I'm going to hear about it afterwards. But thank you, Firefighter Paskin, for your hard work. Your Worship, members of council, CAO Bun, town directors, citizens in the gallery and online. It is with great pleasure that we gather today here to recognize the two of our dedicated members of our community and our fire service for their commitment, service, and remarkable contribution to public safety. The province of Ontario recognizes firefighters for their long service to their communities through the issuance of a medal. The long service medal and subsequent service bars are bestowed to those that have achieved a minimum of 25 years of service in the suppression, training, public education, inspection, or communications division. This evening, MPP Dunlop is on her way. She's just a little, look at that. With me this evening to present the long service medals is Honorable Jill Dunlop, MPP for Simcoe North and Minister of Emergency Preparedness and Response. Our first recipient is firefighter Jeff Beauchamp. Firefighter Beauchamp has lived in Midland his whole life, and honestly, he wouldn't have it any other way. He grew up here, went to Bayview Elementary School and Midland Secondary School. He then later studied environmental engineering at Georgian Bay College in Barrie. No matter where life has taken him, Midland has always been his home. Jeff's had more jobs around town than he can count. His first job was peeling potatoes at Johnny Fry's at Little Lake Park. These days, Jeff is part of the Midland Water Wastewater Department, working behind the scenes to make sure Midland's drinking water is safe and clean. He and his wife, Michelle, have been together for over 20 years, raising their son, Jet, right here in town. Jet has just finished his first year at the University of Guelph, and Jeff and Michelle are very proud. When Jeff is not working, you can probably find him on the ice playing hockey in the winter months and playing ball in the summer months. Sports are a very big part of his life, and he loves staying active. Jeff's also been a volunteer firefighter since the year 2000, where he started with his friend, Phil Kamen. For him, volunteering isn't just helping, it's been part of his life, and it's changed the way he sees things. The training, teamwork, and friendships he's built over the years has shaped who he is today, both on and off the job. Fun fact, Jeff has never been away from Midland for more than 2 weeks at a time, ever. That's how much he loves the town of Midland. At the end of the day, Jeff is a down-to-earth guy who cares deeply about his town, his neighbors, and doing his part in Midland to keep this great city safe, this great town safe. Thank you, Chief. Firefighter Kamen. Firefighter Kamen was born and raised in the town of Midland. Having never lived anywhere else, his roots run deep in this community, and so does his dedication. He joined the Midland Fire Department in April of 2000, training alongside Jeff Beauchamp. From day one, he brought with him not only a strong sense of duty, but a willingness to lead. Today, as a volunteer firefighter, he holds the designation of team lead, where he guides others, ensuring the safety and success of those around him. For the past 20 years, Phil has served as an instructor with various fire academies, training the next generation of firefighters. Thanks to his efforts, many of these recruits have gone on to serve in departments across Midland, Penetanguishene, Tiny, and Tay. When Phil is not wearing bunker gear, he's hard at work as a general manager at Walker Panels, a local manufacturer right here in town, where he's been making a difference for the past 23 years. As you know, behind every great firefighter, there's a family that supports them. And in this case, he has a very patient and supportive wife. Phil and Diane have been happily married for 35 years. Together, they have raised 2 sons. Both are married, and they are the proud grandparents of a beautiful granddaughter who has recently turned 1. In the quieter months, Phil and Diane enjoy casting a line in Georgian Bay during the summer and spending time on the ice at the local curling rink. Your Worship, as you can see, both recipients are dedicated professionals committed to serving the community and keeping us safe. It is with pleasure, excuse me, it is with pleasure that I, surrounded by friends, family, and colleagues, present firefighter Jeff Beauchamp and firefighter Phil Kamen with their provincial long service medal for 25 years of service as firefighters for the town of Midland. So, Your Worship, if you could join me in the front, Council, if we can stand in the horseshoe. Brittany will get us all set up, and I'll bring all our firefighters to the front again, please, hugging the shirt.
All right, we'll head back to the agenda and I'll try following it this time just to be novel. So that's fantastic. Honoring our firefighters and any of our long service members in our community is actually one of the best parts about this job. So council, just before I get back to the motions that I was in such a rush to pound through, I'll ask for any declarations of conflict of interest in relating to today's agenda. The open session agenda, any conflicts of interest with regards to the open session? Yeah, no, yours was already the closed one. Councillor Major, yours was the closed session one. You're golden now. Yeah. And that'll be filed with the clerk. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Your Worship. Council Major having declared a conflict in the closed session. He'll also, he's also declared a conflict of interest for item 8.3, which is the motion referring to the naming rights.
Perfect, thank you. So Councillor, when we get to that, just slide your chair back and don't participate. Councillor Bertel, do you have a declaration of conflict of interest in relation to our open session agenda?
The item with the, on the agenda, 736 King. I don't know the CSR report number, but I believe it's the, getting there.
The public meeting?
Yeah, the public meeting, yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
no
you.
problem. So that's item 12.1 on your agenda. There's a document to fill out with Madam Clerk. I don't think you've had to do this before, so you can fill it out at the end of the meeting so we can get it on the registry. All right, anybody else, council? All right. Perfect. So now we'll get to the motions arising from our closed session. So moved by Councillor East, by Councillor Ball. The council receives information and confirmed direction provided in the confidential verbal report and update provided by the manager of municipal law enforcement at the regular meeting of council, closed session held on September 3rd, 2025, with respect to an appeal of a taxi license. Council, we've had our discussion in camera. All those in favor? Any opposed? It's carried. Yes, I caught that. Oh, did I actually? Oh, it was Ball. Councillor Ball. Yes, sir. Councillor Ball is not with us this evening, but let you guys in on some inside baseball. The names are already on these motions. So if somebody doesn't show up whose name's on there, I need to do it on the fly change. So, and the clerks are always eagerly making sure that I do that. So thank you very much. Next one, moved by Councillor Major, seconded by Deputy Mayor Prost, that the council receives information and confirm the direction provided in the confidential verbal report and update provided by the manager of procurement at the regular meeting of council, closed session held on September 3rd, 2025, with respect to the NSSRC naming rights RFP. Council, we've had our discussion in camera. Councillor Major is removing himself from the dais here. Council, all those in favor? Any opposed? It's carried. Welcome back, Councillor Major. We're done. It's a quick one. Next, moved by Councillor McDonald, seconded by Councillor Meredith. The council receives information and confirm the direction provided in the confidential presentation and update provided by the Executive Director, Infrastructure Management / Town Engineer at the regular meeting of council, closed session held on September 3rd, 2025, with respect to proposed property disposition, Newmarket Tay substations. Council, we've had our discussion in camera. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. All right, next, moved by Councillor Patel, seconded by Councillor Meredith, that the contents of the regular council meeting with closed session agenda for September 3rd, 2025 be approved. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Next, motion moved by Councillor Ball, seconded by Councillor East, that the items and related recommendations contained within the September 3rd, 2025 consent agenda as consent items having been considered by council be adopted with the exception of the following three items. Item 10.4.2 CSR 2025-087 2026 holiday observance / closure schedule. Item 10.4.3 CSR 2025-088 town hall temporary office closure between 12:30 PM and 4:30 PM on September 29th, 2025. And item 10.4.4 CSR 2025-085 taxi cab licensing update, which will be considered under section 17 reports and other items withdrawn from the consent agenda for council's consideration, including presentations by consultants regarding a report under consideration. Council, with what's left on the agenda, this is your opportunity to make comment or have quick questions. Are there any? Councillor McDonald.
Thank you. I did submit some questions earlier and staff was kind enough to respond to them, but I did neglect to ask on one of our council information packages, we had the Heritage Committee meeting minutes. And I just wondered what the status was of the Dollartown signs.
We have fresh information, hot off the presses.
Through your worship, so we have the signs are in. We were looking to do unveiling in the next couple of weeks. However, the timeframes don't work. So what we're looking to tentatively do is have it unveiling before next council. So during the day, maybe around midday. So that's still being finalized. So once we have that date and time finalized, we will then circulate it to council for their attendance. Thank you.
That's exciting. Thank you. That was my second question. Thanks.
And just in relation to that, because the media is aware of this, can we put out some type of notification so they know to show up, friends, family, etc.? Awesome.
Yeah, through your worship, we'll work with our communication team to make sure we get word out on that. Thank you.
Lovely. Long time coming. Great effort by the Heritage folks. Any other comments? All right. All those. Oh, Councillor Meredith.
Thank you, Mayor Gordon. This is also to do with the CIP. First, starting off with the July 14th to 18th CIP, Huronia Airport Commission. Just wanted to comment that it's, it's actually looking over the numbers and, they're heading in a good direction with, they have some surpluses right now operating. They do have some challenges with some staffing, but overall, they seem like it's going in a good direction. So it's good to see coming, as budgets are approaching. It seems like they're on a good path right now. So from this report, anyway. So also wanted to comment on the CIP with municipal law enforcement. Not to get into the weeds here, but it's progressively looking good with revenues. The big thing that I've noticed, the voided tickets from last year, going back to the May report, we had voided tickets of almost $7,000, and it's reduced. That was in May 2024, and 380 versus 380 in May of 2025. So our bylaw department is definitely heading in the right direction. So good to see that work being done, and look forward to the next update as well. Thank you.
Well said. Void is a 4-letter word after all. Louis, are we coming through the ceiling? Can you hear me there? Okay. Councillor Meredith whispers sometimes into his mic, so we'll get him up closer.
I get closer. Yeah.
There we are. Okay, thank you. If anybody else is having trouble hearing, because our HVAC system is a little noisy as well. The hot air isn't just constricted to these mics, it's also up in the ceiling level, so let us know. So now I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? All right, that is carried. I now have a motion moved by Deputy Mayor Pro, seconded by Councillor Major, that council resolve into the committee of the whole. All those in favor? And it's carried. Deputy Mayor, I turn things over to you.
Welcome to Committee of the Whole. If you're following along, it's number 12 and 12.1, CSR 2025-82 zoning bylaw amendment, file number ZBA 05 25 for 736 King Street. I would like to call this public meeting to order. The public meeting is being held pursuant to Section 34 of the Planning Act to consider a zoning bylaw amendment for the property located at 736 King Street. In accordance with the Planning Act, a person that does not make an oral submission at the public meeting or does not make a written submission before the bylaw is passed or an approval is given will not be entitled to appeal the decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal and may not be added as a party to a hearing on an appeal to the tribunal unless, in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to do so. The purpose of this public meeting is to present the proposed zoning bylaw amendment and to receive comments from the public. This is your opportunity to speak and provide input, and council encourages you to do so. Council is not making a decision on the application for taking position. Council will debate the merits of the application following the receipt of a staff recommendation report to be presented at a future council meeting. If you wish to be advised as to when the recommendation report will be put before council, or if you wish to be notified about council's decision, please contact the Planning Services Department at planning@midland.ca or by no later than September 17th, 2025. I would now like to call Steve Farquharson, Executive Director, Community and Growth, to introduce the application and confirm that notice of public meeting has been issued as prescribed by the Planning Act.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As indicated, the application tonight is for a rezoning at the property on King Street, 736. This rezoning is a result of a Committee of Adjustment application that came through the committee, which was a boundary adjustment that was land being added to 806 King Street, which is the Toyota dealership. So as a condition of consent, they were required to come through council to rezone that land so it matches the zoning along King Street. So notice has been provided in accordance with the Planning Act, both mailouts and as well as posting of a sign on the property as well. So the requirements under the act have been met. The applicant's planning consultant, I believe, is in attendance, and they can answer any further questions and provide further detail of the proposal. Staff in our public meetings going forward, we're not going to give a detailed presentation because it tends to be what the consultant's going to go over anyways, but staff are here to provide if we have any questions answers any questions that council may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Farquharson. I will now invite the applicant's agent, Jonathan Pock, to provide a presentation on the proposed zoning bylaw amendment.
Good evening, Your Worship and Council. David Scarcelloni. I'm going to be presenting on behalf of Jonathan Pock tonight. I'm a junior planner, Morgan Planning and Development, and I'm the agent responsible for representing the applicant for all planning matters as they relate to 736 King Street and ZBA-05-25. So if we could just flip to the next slide, please. Just in a macro scope, we're just looking at the location of the subject property. It's adjacent to Little Lake and King Street in proximity to Highway 12, and it's located along the King Street commercial corridor, which is also a strategic growth area within the town of Midland. So if we could just move 2 slides in advance here. The subject property is once again located on the west side of King Street with a lot area of 23.16 hectares or 57.24 acres. It has a frontage of approximately 16.7 meters along King Street. The subject property contains a mobile home trailer park known as Smith's Trailer Park and Camp, as well as a large amount of frontage onto Little Lake. Surrounding land uses in the area include low density residential, various commercial uses, as well as recreational uses across King Street. The subject property is municipally serviced with water and sanitary. It is worth mentioning that there are a network of private roads, as you can see on screen, traversing the trailer park. All private right-of-ways on the property are accessible via King Street and via water entrance on Little Lake. Notable surrounding uses include King Place Retirement Living, Tom Smith's Chevrolet Buick GMC Automotive Dealership, Galloway Park, and several commercial and restaurants along King Street. So if we could just move on to the next slide here. Into the zoning and designations of the property. The property is primarily zoned residential mobile home with a small strip along the water zoned open space and a small strip along the eastern part of the property zoned highway commercial. Similarly, the property is mainly designated neighborhood residential with a small portion of the property along the east designated commercial corridor. Moving on to the next slide, please. The zoning bylaw amendment in question. Previously, consent application B.03/2025 was provisionally approved by the Towns Committee of Adjustment on June 12th, 2025. Condition number 4 of the notice of decision requires that a zoning bylaw amendment application be approved for the rezoning of the conveyed parcel to be consistent with the zoning of 806 King Street. Once again, the application seeks to rezone a portion of the subject lands from residential mobile home to highway commercial. The portion of lands to be rezoned is 435.7 square meters. And no new development is proposed on either property, but the zoning bylaw amendment will open the door to future expansion of existing uses on 806 King Street. Next slide, please. There is the previous boundary adjustment sketch presented to the Committee of Adjustment at the previous meeting. As you can see that the portion in turquoise blue color just to at the corner of the yellow is the lands to be transferred. So if we can move on to the next slide. The zoning bylaw amendment schedule conveys the portion of the lands that to be transferred to be rezoned. So a portion of the transferred lands are still going to be zoned RM, which is the purpose of this zoning bylaw amendment to make the zoning consistent with the property at 806 King Street. Next slide, please. Previously, with the submission of planning justification report was submitted with the application addressing the Planning Act, the provincial planning statement, the county official plan, the town of Midland official plan, as well as the town of Midland zoning bylaw. The application is consistent with all provincial policy, conforms to the county of Simcoe official plan and the town of Midland official plan, and complies with the town of Midland zoning bylaw. Next slide, please. So in a brief summary, the zoning bylaw amendment application seeks to satisfy a condition of approval for the previous consent application B.03/2025. It seeks to rezone a portion of the subject lands, once again, from residential mobile home to highway commercial. The application is consistent with the Planning Act and provincial planning statement, conforms to the county of Simcoe and town of Midland official plan, and complies with the zoning bylaw. At this time, I would like to invite any questions by members of the council, township staff, or members of the public. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. First, I'd like to open the meeting to comments from the public. If you wish to make a comment, please step up to the podium and state your name and address for the public record. You will have a maximum of 5 minutes to speak. So if anybody from the public would like to speak. I don't see anybody approaching the podium. I can turn this to questions or comments from council. Councillor Meredith.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Post. So to be clear, so this land that needs to be transferred is owned by 736 King Street. Can be transferred to 806, and they're looking to rezone it to highway commercial. Is that correct?
Through Mr. Mayor, to the council. Yes, that's correct. The land is currently owned by 736 and it's to be transferred to 806. Thank you.
Thank you. That was my one and only. Thank you.
Okay, as there are no further comments from the public or from council regarding the zoning bylaw amendment, I will now call this public meeting to an end. Thank you. So I have a motion. Sorry, I've just got some of my motions mixed up here. Okay, I have a motion. Can I have it moved by Counselor East, second by Counselor Major? That staff report CSR 2025 082 zoning bylaw amendment, public meeting report, file number ZBA 05 25 for 736 King Street dated September 3rd, 2025 be received for information. All those in favor? That's carried. Okay, moving on to number 12. 12.1 CSR 2025 082 zoning bylaw amendment file. No, sorry, that's the wrong one. I apologize. I have these mixed up. I got it. Okay, 12.2 CSR 2025 084 zoning bylaw amendment for the public meeting report, address 526 Bay Street. I would like to call this public meeting to order. This public meeting is being held pursuant to Section 34 of the Planning Act to consider a zoning bylaw amendment for the property located at 526 Bay Street. In accordance with the Planning Act, a person that does not make an oral submission at the public meeting or does not make a written submission before the bylaw is passed or an approval is given will not be entitled to appeal the decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal and may not be added as a party to a hearing on an appeal to the tribunal unless, in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to do so. The purpose of this public meeting is to present the proposed zoning bylaw amendment and to receive comments from the public. This is your opportunity to speak and provide input, and council encourages you to do so. Council is not making a decision on the application or taking a position. Council will debate the merits of the application following the receipt of the staff recommendation report to be presented at a future council meeting. If you wish to be advised as to when the recommendation report will be put before council, or if you wish to be notified about council's decision, please contact the Planning Services Department at planning@midland.ca by no later than September 17th, 2025. I would like to call upon Zoe Beamish, planner, to introduce the application and confirm that notice of public meeting has been issued as prescribed by the Planning Act.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, Mayor Gordon, council members, staff, and members of the public. My name is Zoe, and I am a planner with the town of Midland in the Community and Growth Division. I can confirm that notice of public meeting for this application has been issued in accordance with the Planning Act. As confirmed by the chair, the purpose of this public meeting is to gather feedback from members of the public about the proposed zoning bylaw amendment. As this is a privately initiated application, the role of staff is limited to providing a basic overview of the application with detailed information being provided by the applicant's agent, Amanda Newlove from Jones Consulting Group. Staff can confirm that the property is located at 526 Bay Street and is currently zoned downtown core commercial. The applicant is seeking to amend the town zoning bylaw to permit the development of a mixed-use apartment building on the subject lands. The effect of the application would be to make a mixed-use apartment building a permitted use on the property and to amend the definition of a mixed-use apartment building to allow accessory residential uses associated with the maintenance and function of the apartment building on the ground floor, in addition to commercial uses. The applicant has submitted several reports and studies in support of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment. Staff will review these reports along with any comments provided tonight and provide a planning opinion by way of a recommendation report that will be provided to council at a later date. Staff wish to remind the public that if they want to be notified when the recommendation report is to be presented to council, or if they wish to receive a copy of the notice of decision, they must provide their contact information on the sign-in sheet outside council chambers or email planning@midland.ca. Thank you, Chair. That is all for my presentation.
Thank you. I'd like to invite Ms. Newlove to come to the podium for your presentation. Welcome.
Perfect. Yes, good afternoon, council, and thank you to staff for providing that information. My name is Amanda Newlove, and I'm a planner from the Jones Consulting Group, and we represent the owner of 526 Bay Street, who has submitted a zoning bylaw amendment application to permit a mixed-use apartment building on the property. Next slide, please. So the subject lands are outlined in red and have frontage on Bayshore Drive, First Street, and Bay Street. Nottawasaga Bay is directly to the north, as well as some industrial uses to the northwest. And to the east, south, and west, there's a range of residential and commercial uses. Next slide, please. So this is the proposed site plan. It will be a 4-story mixed-use apartment building with 15 residential units and 2 commercial units on the ground floor, as well as an interior parking area with 15 parking spaces, so 1 parking space per unit. What you're going to hear me reiterate a lot throughout this presentation is the lands are permitted as of right to have an apartment building and will comply with all the development standards. It's also permitted as of right to have a range of commercial uses. The reason for this zoning bylaw amendment is the design of the apartment building, and we have worked with staff with this existing definition in your zoning bylaw that's called an apartment building mixed use. We think this better fits the proposed development, and also on the ground floor, they're what we're defining as accessory residential uses. There's not going to be any units on the ground floor, but through the function of the apartment building, there's going to be an entryway, an office, like a mailbox room, utility room, and a common area for the residents. So that's the request in the definition. Next slide, please. So as described in our planning justification report, it is our opinion that the proposal has regard to matters of provincial interest and is consistent with the PPS. The lands are located in the settlement area of Midland in the downtown area and will utilize municipal services and will introduce a mixed-use apartment building, which is the intent of the town official plan. The lands also contain no natural heritage features. There were other reports that were submitted, including a functional servicing report, an environmental site assessment, and a D6 land use compatibility assessment. The reason this report was submitted is because of those surrounding industrial uses, because a residential use is deemed a sensitive land use, and there needs to be an assessment of that because of the adjacent industrial. So the assessment did conclude that the development is not subject to a risk of environmental impacts. It did recommend the completion of a noise and vibration study. This was also identified by staff through pre-con, so staff are well aware of this, as well as the client. One of the comments that we've received so far is a request that this study be completed. And we want to reiterate that this study will be completed, but it will be completed through site plan control. And the reason that it's going to be completed at site plan control is because, as I've said, the lands are permitted as of right to contain an apartment building and these residential uses. So although it is deemed a sensitive land use, it's permitted already. The zoning bylaw amendment is just to recognize that design of the building to have the accessory residential uses on the ground floor. So in our opinion, completing that study at site plan control is appropriate, and staff have, we've discussed this with staff. Next slide, please. So the lands are designated settlement area in the County of Simcoe official plan, which permits a range of residential and commercial uses. Next slide, please. So although the new Town of Midland official plan was approved in 2020, there was some site-specific appeals, and one of those appeals relates to the downtown district. As such, the previous official plan still applies to the lands. The lands are designated downtown district in the previous official plan, which permits mixed-use development. Next slide, please. In the new town official plan, there's a few different schedules that are applicable. Specifically, the lands are in the downtown and waterfront strategic growth area and within a mixed-use district, which again encourages intensification, higher densities, and this type of mixed-use development. Next slide, please. Similarly, the lands are still proposed to be designated downtown, which permits residential and commercial uses, specifically encouraging mixed-use development. Next slide, please. The lands are currently zoned downtown core commercial. And as I've stated, it has a range of as-of-right permitted uses, and the development is also going to comply with all those existing development standards, including height, lot coverage, setbacks, etc. Next slide, please. The proposed zoning is to add an exception to the zone to specifically include that apartment dwelling mixed use with the amended definition. So as you can see, the definition states that you're allowed commercial uses on the ground floor, but residential uses shall not be located on the ground floor. So that's why we've added to that definition in red, stating that although there's going to be no units on the ground floor, we're adding accessory residential uses. So the office, the entryway, the common room, just to make sure we're in full compliance with that definition. So in conclusion, it is our opinion that the proposal is consistent with the PPS and complies and meets the intent of the county official plan and previous and new town official plan to redevelop the site into a mixed use area. And thank you so much for your time, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for your presentation. If I will now open the floor to comments from the public. And if you wish to make a comment or have any questions, please step up to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and you have a maximum of 5 minutes to speak. Going once. Okay, seeing nobody approaching to have any questions, I would open it up to council. Councillor Meredith.
I don't, thank you, Deputy Mayor Prost. I don't really have any questions, but I'm glad to see this project moving forward. This is one step closer to a long-awaited development here. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Councillor Major.
So I'll just give a quick history for people that aren't been in Midland that long. The one that's going to own this built the suites out on the highway coming into town. They were done to perfection. And then on Midland Avenue and Hugo, he built the 4-story apartments. And if you want to drive down there and have a look, they're like beyond good. It's like an asset to the town of Midland, that how good they are, how they blend in. And it's just a good thing for the town of Midland that he wants to continue investing in our town. And all I can say is I wish him the best of luck, and hopefully the two sides can get together and have a red tape cutting specialist get through all this and get it going.
Councillor Patel. Councillor Ball.
Thank you. Is there room for visitor parking at all in your plans? I know you don't have it right now, but is that an option you've been considering?
Yes, so through the chair, the downtown core commercial is actually exempt from any minimum parking. So technically, there's no required parking even for the residential. But with current market conditions, it is nice to have a parking space for an apartment. So no, the site doesn't currently have any space for visitor parking. There is lots of on-street parking spaces along Bay Street, but no dedicated visitor parking.
Thank you. Yeah, I know we do not have a requirement, but that's something I would like to bring up in the future already, but I think should be considered, at least knowing how many spots there will be taken up. You're only putting one per unit, which is required, but obviously there will be more parking, so it would be nice to be considered more if possible.
Mayor Gordon.
Louis, can you hear me? We're not. Yeah. Uh, I can echo the sentiments here. It's been a bit of a long challenge and a road here, and I think there's still some outstanding issues. So it's good to see this moving forward through the public meeting process. It's also nice to see that really nobody seems to be speaking in opposition of it in this growth and intensification downtown. So I do look forward to seeing what staff come back with the recommendation report and checking yet another of the many, many boxes that are complicating matters when anyone tries to build and develop in this province. So we're definitely trying to stay out of the way as much as we can, but there are things we just don't have any control over, such as that previous official plan appeal. So I know you guys are working hard through that. So if there is anything else from a staff perspective about moving things to site plan perspective, we'll look forward to seeing those recommendations come back to us in due order. Thank you.
Councillor Patel.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Prost. So I'm glad this project is moving forward, and just have a quick question. What is the name gonna be for this apartment building? Because I know the one on Hugo and Midland Avenue has a name, so I was just curious. Thank you.
I was just going to, through the chair, throw it over to Louis, but he
It's
beat
going
me
to be
to it.
called Harborview Apartments.
Thank you, Louis.
Seeing no further questions or comments from council, I thank you again for your presentation. So with no further comments from the public or council regarding the zoning bylaw amendment, I will now call this public meeting to an end. Okay, I have a motion. Can I have a Councillor East and Councillor Major again? That staff report CSR 2025-084 zoning bylaw amendment public meeting report files number ZBA 04-25 for 526 Bay Street dated September 3rd, 2025 be received for information. All those in favor? That's carried. Okay, moving on to number 13, presentations. We have none. 14, Integrity Commissioner Recommendation Report. We have none. 15, Deputations and Petitions. 15.1, we have the guest house shelter. Update. I'd like to invite Rosemary Sykes to the podium, please.
Good evening, and thank you, Mayor Gordon, for providing this opportunity to address the members of council. My name is Rosemary Sykes, and I'm the CEO of the Guest House Shelter. I began my journey with homelessness 20 years ago as a volunteer with the Out of the Cold program. At that time, an awareness of homelessness in our community was just beginning to take shape. It was common for people to think homelessness was not a problem in Midland. Here we are today, unable to hide from the painful truth. Poverty, mental illness, and drug addictions are all evident throughout our community and affect each of us in some way. The guest house is open 365 days a year. We are able to provide shelter to 21 adults. We are always full and often have a waiting list. We offer a safe place to sleep, 3 nutritious meals a day, and programs that encourage and support our guests in their journey towards health. Guests work closely with trained staff addressing their individual and unique needs. We are well aware of the negative impression some community members have about us. We are not the problem. We are a small piece of the solution. Our guests have a 10:30 p.m. curfew. They are not responsible for the overnight illegal activity that takes place in the downtown core. Our guests take part in regular community cleanup of the waterfront and park areas. Some of our guests volunteer in the community. An example of this would be the recent renovation of Compassion Place in downtown Midland. Also recently, Ribfest took advantage of our guests' willingness to volunteer. Some of our guests have been community college students with work placements at 2 of our long-term care homes, having no homes to call their own. They are working towards a diploma that will qualify them to be fully employed in our community in much-needed professions and positions. Some of our guests are employed earning minimum wage, but are not able to find or afford housing. The guest house partners with the Salvation Army Outreach Program, with Empower Simcoe Housing Workers, and now with Youth Haven Outreach. These organizations all rent office space from us and offer their own support to our local community and indirectly to the shelter. We are aware that many downtown business people and neighbors assume that the obvious problems on the street and in the neighborhood are created by those staying at the guest house. I respectfully remind you that we shelter 21 people at any given time. When we receive complaints from our neighbors about loitering or illegal drug use, we respond immediately. First, we go outside and see who is actually causing the problem. Guest house staff have been keeping track of community complaints about activity taking place in our neighborhood. During the month of August, doing regular checks of both private and town property, our staff counted a total of 7 guests and 53 non-guests using the neighborhood inappropriately. In an effort to reduce the amount of needle use and garbage being found between Easy Street and Yugle Avenue and First and King Streets, we no longer distribute harm reduction items to individuals who are not residents of the guest house. Those in need of these items will be able to attend the health unit to pick up their supplies. There is a small area in front of the shelter at the parking lot entrance that is available for relaxation for our guests. We removed our smoking hut from this area to discourage illegal drug distribution and usage. Our guests know that they will be discharged from our program if they are found to be involved in illegal activity. We don't control or have authority over people who are not part of the guest house program, nor do we have authority over property that does not belong to us. Again, I would like to thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. I invite you to come for a tour of the guest house and an open house at the shelter on October 1st. Please feel free to reach out to me to discuss your concerns. Our elevator should be up and running by then, and we will be in a position to welcome back many volunteers. Lastly, I ask financial support from this council and the community. It costs approximately $100 a day per guest to keep the shelter open. And although we operate with funding provided through the County of Simcoe, that is not sufficient. So please consider supporting us in your annual budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Sykes. It's good for us to get an update. Maybe you could come back to the podium because I'd like to open up the council may have questions. And this is for information only, this presentation and answers to our questions. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Mayor Prose, do you, I just would like to clarify the 3 outreach programs that are operating from your facilities now, and how you've, well, obviously it's been effective, but I would like you to tell me again who they are. And I think you said there was 3, Salvation Army, anyway. And
Oh, yes. Okay, the Salvation Army has their street outreach worker, Angela, who's been with us for years. And she has just taken up office space in our building and works in conjunction with our staff. Empower Simcoe housing workers operate out of the shelter as well. They combine their efforts between their office at the shelter and the library when it's appropriate. And then Youth Haven has just rented space. They haven't taken up space yet, but they have just rented space, and they will be doing a youth outreach program for themselves, which will affect young teenagers in our community as well. So 16 to 18-year-olds will be their focus.
thank you. And it's encouraging to hear that we're making a difference in, because the challenge is mind-boggling to a lot of us. And clarifying again, please, your open house is October 1st?
October 1st, and further details when we firm them up will come to you directly.
Thank you.
Counselor Ball.
Thank you. Can you clarify what programs that you're speaking about that you offer at the guest house?
We operate in conjunction with Empower Simcoe Housing Outreach, housing specifically for the guests that are staying at the shelter. Housing is, nobody can deny how difficult it is, and it's almost impossible. And the lower you are on the economic scale, the more difficult it becomes. So most of the guests who are staying at the guest house need help in navigating that system. We also have programs available through the shelter, so they could be anywhere from housing to employment, mental health support, job readiness training, just about anything that you need as a young adult becoming normally, or what we would consider normally, a young adult becoming independent is not something our guests usually come to us having. So we have staff that are specialized in working one-on-one with these guests in whatever way it's necessary. It could be navigating the medical health system, coming in without doctors, without proper prescriptions, with appointments with specialists that have to take place outside of town. So all that kind of thing. Some life skills. Well, they haven't actually started a new yet. We also have reached out to Narcotics Anonymous about coming and doing their program out of our offices as well. They haven't actually started doing that yet, but we're looking forward to working with them. We have Kind Men, so Georgian Bay Native Friendship Center is also beginning to operate program for young men who feel that they can benefit from that particular program.
So I'm not sure if you're open during the day now. I did hear you say you're
We-
providing lunch, but I'm wondering if, I know Counselor McDonald and I are a part of support services meetings. The guest house is not currently sitting on those. But I know Angela does sit on several of them. So I'm not sure if that, I guess it's being relayed back to the guest house, but I'm wondering in conjunction with these support services, if you're able to offer a more wraparound therapy approach to your residents at the guest house, so they are getting like the mental health system navigating that. It's great to have navigation, but are we able to add additional services within the guest house shelter? I'm hoping that your plan is to do that.
Do you have specific programs in mind? I mean, our
Mental
staff-
health, addiction.
So our shelter operations manager is a mental health and addiction staff. She's trained, she has her certificate, she's college educated, and she works intensively with our guests in that direction.
So she's providing group and individual therapy, like psychotherapy, addictions therapy.
No one is able to offer psychotherapy within the world of the shelter unless you're
So that's my
many
question.
times funded that we probably will never get to that point.
So my question is, with the services that are currently provided within town that do have access to that, if you have reached out to offer programs within the shelter through them? And
Our
if you
sh- our
have
shelter-
planned to do that?
Again, our shelter operation manager is involved in those areas with outreach. So wrap around and I'm not sure if I can be more specific than that. We do our best to tailor what we offer to the needs of the specific people. So if we're dealing with someone who has a specific psychiatric or medical, physically medical or addiction issue, then yes, we reach out and we find the resources. And we can do that we have the space and the ability to do that within our walls. But we don't have the professionals that have necessarily those particular credentials to do, or the funding for us to do that.
So it might be a good opportunity to sit at the support services meetings and make those connections to be able to offer your guests some more.
I'll go around first. Counselor East.
So I'm going to take a different approach, and I just want to take a minute to thank you and your volunteers. I can only imagine the heavy weight of the job that you guys carry, or your ladies carry. I don't know if you hear it enough, and I know that you guys are all well aware of how I stand, but you also have to hear that I'm very grateful for the services that you provide, the weight that you take home. I know it's not an easy job, so I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you for your recognition.
Counselor McDonald.
Thank you. Just to follow up on Councillor Ball's comments. We have been organizing the community partners getting together for another Hope Housing and Health Symposium, which I think I've neglected. Anyway, you'll be added to our list. But my question is in regards to money. And I have never looked at your budget, but I imagine one of the expenses is food because you feed your guests regularly. And at one time, the community was able to provide meals, myself included. Certain churches or organizations were asked to put a slate together for a month, and that's who we provided meals for 30 people, say. Is that even possible, or is that being done now?
There's two pieces to that. Again, we all buy groceries. We all know the price of groceries and how they've skyrocketed over the past few years. So multiply that by us, and it is a major budget issue. We also, up until the days of COVID, we operated almost totally on volunteers, and the volunteers were the backbone of the organization. And yes, food was a major piece of that. All the churches in town took turns volunteering, getting groups together and bringing meals into us. Many individuals did, and that ended with COVID. And we're working really hard on reintroducing it. And now the stumbling block for us is the elevator. We've all aged at least 5 years over 10 years over COVID. And most of our volunteers were probably in their 60s to 70s at that time. So now you add 10 years to that, and the 70-year-olds and the 80-year-olds are not climbing our stairs. So we're very much relying on getting that elevator working as soon as possible. And a year later, I mean, it's been many years later for the elevator in process, but a year later in my time as CEO, we've been working steadily with the elevator company and with the contractor to get that going. And we're told we're getting very, very close. So the moment that elevator is running, we'll be putting out a major call for volunteers to come back and do exactly that kind of thing. Now, some of the churches, St. Paul's in particular, I have to recognize, because they are phenomenal in support for the shelter. They have always been there for us. They donate to us financially at least once a year, and they are currently providing about 3 meals a month for us to serve 21 people. That's the kind of volunteerism we're looking to get back, and hopefully it's not too far away.
Thank you. If there was a saint to pray for to get an elevator fixed, I'll find it, because that's been a long time coming.
Yes.
And I know when myself personally delivered food, I never carried it up. There was always the guests there helping me. So
Our guests,
I look
our
forward
guests
to the
for
call.
Our guests for the most part are very good and willing to help when they're there and when they're able. Some more so than others, but they're very grateful. And nothing is more appreciated than a home cooked meal.
Counselor Meredith, and then I'll go.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Prost, and thank you for giving us the update, Ms. Sykes. And I can appreciate all your efforts and that the guest house management and volunteers are putting forth. But there can always be improvements, and the calls that I've been getting by surrounding neighbors and public with the activities surrounding the guest house, not so much inside the guest house, but activities surrounding the guest house is concerning. So I think the management needs more to pay more attention to the outside premises, its open drug use, sexual activities, and inappropriate gestures to the public. Management also needs to improve in its responsibility to ensure that its neighboring businesses and dwellings are not negatively affected by the activities of the guests of the guest house and who the guest house or that they attract. So you say there's about, the last time that you had about 7 guests, and then there was 50 or so some non-guests. So that 57 people in that back area is concerning. It's concerning for public safety when there's open drug use, drug dealers coming by on a daily basis, and nothing's being done. So that to me would fall on a management level, whether they pick up the phone to call the police, and so forth. I think it needs to improve for not only the public safety, the safety of the people, our residents that are using the library, your neighboring church, and so forth. Management also needs to improve on operating the shelter 24 hours, 7 days a week. You know, the doors are still being locked, and it's supposed to be 24 hours, 7 days a week, and people entering the guest house should be free from drugs. So that is not happening. So the management has to do a better job at basically policing that. And for the most part, I've been circling around the guest house for the last 2 weeks, and the filth around the guest house, the garbage can that's there with the seagulls getting into the garbage and garbage all over the streets. Complaints coming about that. It's still missing one lid that garbage can. The paraphernalia, the needles that the neighboring optometrist has to clean up every morning, that shouldn't be their responsibility. That should be the responsibility of the guest house. So the management of the guest house needs to step up. And I'm not saying that you're doing a great job on the inside, but the outside needs attention. And it's negatively affecting the neighbors. And I think there is a responsibility there from the management. At the end of this month, I'm hoping to have a meeting with Mr. Fayez Baguette from the county to address these issues, and hopefully we can get back on track. I feel that, you know, when situations like this arise, action is taken, then 6 months, a year later, we're back to square one. So we need to step up, whether it's more help from the community, more help from the county. We're a lower tiered community. We don't get the funding. The community funds the guest house. So my concerns will go to the top, and hopefully they'll trickle down, and hopefully we'll see an improvement in the management.
May I respond? If we go back to what I said earlier, we are making changes, and they're changes that are being noticed and seen. We are responsible for 21 people, not 100, not 500, not even 50. At any given time, we are mandated to care for 21 people. We are not responsible for what goes on in the rest of the community. We can't be. We are in constant contact with the police, who throw up their hands and say, what are we supposed to do? We can't. They can pick people up, they can take them away, and those same people will be back in the parking lot doing what they want to do within 4 hours. I can't control what other community members do or where they do it. So there has been a change. I have just, and I am in constant contact with the minister from the United Church. Our staff, especially our operations manager, is out there doing outreach with other communities, and all the organizations that all the programs that the county operates and offers is a big part of. In terms of needle use in the parking lot, I totally agree. I can't argue with that. It's terrible. We have stopped handing out harm reduction products in an attempt to clean that up, and it is getting cleaned up. The problem, and as a council, you're going to hear this within the next month or two, because the problem is going to be moved. Harm reduction products will be handed out, they're controlled and will be handed out by the health unit. So anyone who wants to use will have to go up to the health unit, which sits very closely to a local high school. So you can expect to hear some concerns coming from that direction very soon. We're moving the problem about, we're not solving it. And that's not us. I have reached out to the waste management company. They know about the waste bin. They've promised me there's a new secure lid coming. But again, I've been waiting for a good 6 weeks for that response. So if you can make them come sooner, I'll be happy to welcome them. And our guests, not all of our guests, I won't speak for all of them, but some of them are very responsible about, we have a very small perimeter around the shelter that we actually own and control. A tiny little, this much space from our outside door to the town property. I can go out and I can remind our guests as many times as I want, they're to stay where the benches are. That's our spot. That's where they can go and have their cigarette. And occasionally, does something go wrong there? Yes. My office looks down on that spot. I see, I respond. I direct my staff, they go out, they respond. Whatever resources you can suggest, I'm happy to hear.
Do you have a follow-up, Counselor Meredith?
Oh, there it goes. Thank you. And I totally understand that you have 21 beds or guests in there, and there's a lot more than 21 out of your door at a certain time. And you have a small space in the back for your guests to enjoy, which is way too small. But we cannot just keep on pointing the finger at it. We have to do something about it. So if the guest house was in another location, they would have the same problems as the outside of this guest house.
Any
Let me-
homeless shelter
let me-
would, no matter where. it was.
Exactly. So there is debris that comes out, needles and so forth. So from a management perspective, and I've been there, from a management perspective, it should be the management's responsibility to make sure the surrounding area, no matter if it's on your property, the neighboring properties who have problems, it should be cleaned up by the guest house management. It should be, or you say you do community cleanups. Well, let's concentrate on around the guest house, because the town of Midland, in partnership with the BIA, has a cleaning crew for downtown. So just concentrate around the library and around your area and make sure it's clean. Today, I went around and nothing has been cleaned. Doors are locked. I see 3 staff at the front, right, enjoying a cigarette, right? So come outside with a broom and clean up the surrounding area. That's all I'm asking. So for you to just slush off the problem that it's not on your property is to me is not good enough. And that's why what I mean, management has to improve. As far as the garbage bin, get another company. Terminate your lease and get another company. I've done it before. They'll be there in a couple days. Look at somebody else. It's been 6 weeks. Of course, it might have been longer than 6 weeks, right? So
it has been.
it's not acceptable. So get another company. So that's not rocket science. So you can't just say, I've called. This is a management issue, and the management has to step up, right? Not only for its guests, but the public safety and its neighboring properties. And that's all I'm asking. I'm not looking for excuses. I'm looking to step up, right? Because you're doing a lot of good. But you need to improve the good around.
I accept your compliment that we're doing a lot of good.
Yeah.
I do not accept your premise that it's up to us to police the library grounds or the town parking lot. If it's our guests, then I certainly want to know, and I certainly get involved. And I do get involved in the community, and I am out there, but we are a very small organization. Where does somebody else's responsibility come into this for the citizens of Midland, not the guest of the shelter, but the citizens of Midland? Because that's who you're talking about.
Well, they're not all citizens.
I think we're going to
They're not all
agree,
cit-
I think
yeah.
we're going to agree to disagree, and maybe that should be tabled.
Absolutely, because I have a firm stance on management and the way it should be run. So, but in that, and then you're asking for, all further on council support in your 2024 audited report. You had brought in about $850,000 and expenses of $644,000. That was in your audited report. So that leaves about $256,000, which I don't think I'm not sure if this is correct, but this was in the audited report. The 2025 financial report hasn't come in yet. So, you paid compensation in about $500,000. That's what the audit report said. And, you have about in the audited report, there was, full-time employees, 23, part-time 20. And I don't know if those numbers are correct, but that's what's in the audited report. So and then you have volunteers on top of that. So I'm asking to do better in management. And I will be conveying this to Mr. Fayette as well. So we can get this solved so we can please not only the guests inside, but the community on the outside. And that's what I'm trying to accomplish.
We agree on that
Right.
piece.
Thank you.
Counselor Major.
Yeah, I'll go with what Councilor Meredith said. Like, there's enough competition, so 6 weeks waiting for a lid on a garbage bin is unacceptable. Like, I can make a phone call tomorrow, get that bin gone and new one in, because the garbage industry is very competitive, and phoning for 6 weeks, they're never coming. If you've been calling for 6 weeks, they're just ignoring you. So just pick out another company, and there's all kinds of Miller or Green for Life or whatever, and phone them, and then just phone them, and they'll tell you the day you kick them out, they'll be, oh, but yeah, we're coming right now. No, you're not. Just get your bin and get out and put a new bin in there, and off you go. Because like I say, in garbage, it's competitive. So make a phone call and I'll guarantee you someone else will be there with a new bin.
I'll take that under advisement.
Counselor Ball, quick follow-up.
Thank you. You just spoke to saying like if there's something we can do, like I think that we would love to do that. If you see the same people coming every 4 hours, let us know that so we can advocate to the police board, so we can find out the proper avenues to, lobby for stricter drug laws. We all know that that's necessary. This is why this problem is so out of hand. But we need hard data that you're seeing the same person over and over again. Like I can't go and lobby or advocate for you for stricter laws when I have zero data to back it up. So if you're seeing that, then tell us. If you can't get a garbage bin and they're not returning your calls, call us. I would love to call and say, why are you not doing this? I'm sure that Councillor Meredith would be, if you can't tell, we're pretty annoying. So I think that, we would love to make some calls for you. So if you are seeing these problems and there is something that we can do, being in more communication with us would allow us to help you do that. But we can't do that when you're just like, I appreciate they're coming to do these updates. Those are more than what we were getting before. So I appreciate that, but I would love to be able to help you a step further because this is a community issue. This is not your issue. I agree with you. It isn't your issue. There's a much bigger picture to it. There is some merit, obviously, to what Councillor Meredith is saying as well. There are some improvements, but I think the first step is letting us know there's the problems that are there, how we can address them with you and help you address them, and then to, join some support services meetings and allow the community to help you as well, and all the support services in the area to help you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Patel.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Prost. So I want to thank you. I want to really thank the, passionate volunteers for their great service at the shelter. But, in your presentation, you mentioned the part that, that you need funding from Midland. But on the other hand, you're saying what happens on the library grounds is not your problem. If we were to provide funding, library grounds would be your problem as well. And we should be neighborly and looking out after our neighboring properties, just not our property. And it's a disservice to the volunteers to brush it off and all their hard work about what's happening in the community, because we're all in one community and we should be looking after our neighboring property, especially the library, because there's children that are attending the library, they're seniors, and they want to feel like they're entering a safe space and not a war zone. So that's a concern Mr. Councilor Meredith has, is we have to kind of, approach it at a community level, not as just that we are looking after 21 people and that's it. No, we're looking after the community, and that's what the volunteers are doing. They're looking after the community. So we should take that approach. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Patel. You pretty much said what I wanted to say. I think we need to start all working together. And for you to take responsibility for 21 people, those 21 people are really not your responsibility when they're outside the building, right? They're grown adults. They're going to do whatever they're going to do, and it's not a reflection on you. And you're not in trouble for it because you can't control them or what their choices are. So I do believe in a community approach, and I think that we all need to work together. And I did want to just clarify services and programs. So your shelter connects people with services, whether they're in town or out of town, you connect people with what they need. Whereas programming, I think some of us think differently. Like a programming would be like, even if it started with a group conversation and problem solving, it could be, and maybe that problem solving could be, how can we keep it tidy? That seems to be something that this council really cares about. To me, that's programming. That's like people taking responsibility. And you don't know what can come from that, right? It's positive. But I just really wanted to clarify the difference between services and programs. Anyway, I think that's it. I think we need to just work together as a community and, not your responsibility, my responsibility. I think we just need to be one together and look out for each other. And I think Mayor Gordon has something to say.
If you're speaking in closing, Mayor Gordon, I just got poked, and our minister from the United Church would like to speak if that's possible.
Your Worship, Council, nice to see you. So we're directly neighbors with our friends at the guest house. And as Rosemary mentioned, we speak frequently. Our janitor is out there constantly around our gardens, around our area, cleaning up because it's an issue. But a lot of the issues happen overnight. They don't happen during the day. They happen overnight. And those can't possibly be guest house people. This problem is bigger than the guest house can possibly manage. So with respect, I would ask the councillors who are saying that the manager has to solve all the problems. What is council doing to help people who can't find affordable housing? There is so little affordable housing. If you are an ODSP, you get 1,200 and change a month. Find an apartment in Midland that doesn't eat up all your money. What are you doing as councillors to advocate to the county and to the province so that the needs of the people in this town can be met? What is your management practice so that the entire city is working together? Since I've arrived here last January, I've been in conversation with the guest house and the library, and we're trying to work together so that all of our resources can be in tandem and work as a team. So as part of the team, we would love to know what the council is doing, what the mayor is doing, what the county is doing. There are so many people who are facing a homeless challenge. It's heartbreaking. And I have members coming to church on Sunday, talk about the vulnerable people that led the library. My church is full of vulnerable people. We have a preschool there. We have elderly people who meet there. And I've had them come in to me and their faces are beaming. And they're like, you know what we saw on our way to church? We saw people from the guest house cleaning up the parking lot. That's the city's parking lot. What is the city doing to keep their parking lot clean? Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's a good rhetorical question because it is a group effort. And it's easy, and we've seen this not only at this council, but previous councils and in other councils all over the country. It's easy to pin the blame on the service that's most connected to helping the people who seem to be, on its face, causing the most problems in the community, which I know personally isn't the fact. So you guys take it on the chin, and I give you great credit. When I invited you to come and give us an update, I told you about what happened to the last update with the predecessor, same surname, but no relation. And you bravely accepted this. So first of all, I want to thank you for coming tonight and exposing yourself to the questions that are kind of culminating from the community who reaches out to municipal council. Because the community, even though a lot of them are now learning through a lot of repetition online, that these are not things within our control. I think they're also coming to terms with the fact that these are things that are not in your control either. You're just trying, to your point earlier, you're trying to be part of the solution. So at the point of sounding redundant, just to remind people, at a lower tier municipality, are, aside from roads, sewer, police, fire, sidewalks and infrastructure and parks and recreation and sports and those kind of things that we look after, none of that includes building housing, but we're in the land use planning business. So we support the building of housing, which is a priority for the province, because everyone knows, and it's not happening. We also do surplus land donations. So we're approached, or sometimes we do the approaching that, hey, we candidate lands and we offer them up to the county for supportive housing, or it's deeply affordable seniors housing. We're working on a project with them right now for 100 units in our community, not to serve Midland residents, because we have no say. Any more than you can say that shelter is only open to Midland residents. It's the coordinated access system from the county. So what can we do? We play a rather trivial, minimal role in all of this, and yet we bear the brunt of the frustration from the residents who demand that something be done. Nobody knows what the something is. They just know that something has to be done. So they come in anger towards us, and I'm sure you get the same sentiments. And somehow over time, you've developed alligator skin all your decades doing this. So thank you for what you're doing, and that of all your dedicated volunteers and staff. I have plenty of compassion for people that are actively trying to seek help and services. However, in case anyone's missed it, in the media, I don't have a lot of compassion for people that are prone to trespassing, committing crimes, open drug use in our community, discarding their sharps, wherever they want. The violence, sexual violence, theft, intimidation, all of these things that go on in our community that it's easy to pin on. It's the homeless population, but you and I both know better. Sure, some of them will do that just because of all their complex issues that bookend the reason why they're experiencing homelessness. But there's a lot of our local residents who cause us a lot of grief as well. And we've just had to see that from even last year in the news, the guy with his butt out on King Street. Looked like a homeless guy. Wasn't a homeless guy, one of our locals. Caused a lot of grief, was pretty embarrassing. So I want to thank you, Rosemary, for the tour and the visit that you gave me. It was really amazing. I happened to watch the caring and compassion mode kick in while I was, getting this tour as somebody in crisis presented themselves. And I watched you and your staff working to try and manage that rather demanding individual who was definitely in crisis and needed help. You've always been very responsive to my emails and calls, so as your shelter manager. And it's fantastic news about the elevator. The renovations inside look wonderful. The fresh paint and that unique color you chose really is uplifting, and it's just a huge paradigm shift from kind of the dreary, rundown, peeling paint kind of under construction, perpetually feeling that the shelter had in previous years and previous tours. So a lot of hard work's gone into that, a lot of volunteer work, and I got to commend you. This is the inside stuff that the community doesn't see unless they take you up on your offer of coming in for the open house. So I certainly hope they do. So absolute credit where it's due. Empower Simcoe does, amazing work on site. I know over the past few years, I've been following I tell them they got to promote this more, but they've been getting some real wins in placing people experiencing homelessness into housing. And then they follow them, and they're connected, I believe, to the shelter for 2 years after that, right? Because not everybody who, moves on stays moved on. Sometimes they fall back into their old habits and old issues, and they got the same friends and the same, life experience. So they can fall back into the shelter system. So you follow them through that journey. And so learning a little bit more how you provide these ongoing supports that, again, is a bit of a mystery to the community at large, was really refreshing and eye-opening. So I wanted to share that today. You also have the Salvation Army in there. Angela, well, aptly named. There's angel in the word Angela. Someone who I could have text messages with on a Sunday at almost 1 a.m. about something that's just come to my attention that's rather urgent. She'd always get back to me. I wouldn't routinely text her at 1 a.m., but I'm just saying how responsive she is. And she's no longer funded. That funding has moved on to a new entity, and she's still doing the outreach, and hopefully she's still in the office in their shelter. So, we've had some amazing people over the year, and Denis was another one that we had, just another, amazing person doing God's work. So there's a lot of things that go on behind the scene that I think go unnoticed. So I need to call those out. So amidst some of the criticism, and there is criticism, and a lot of it's very valid, but not all of it's can really be truly placed on your shoulders. However, you deal with the population that we feel we're having the biggest problem with. Therefore, here you are bravely standing at the podium, accepting what you can accept and countering what, is perhaps a stereotype or just, not true in your mind. So the assertive outreach program has taken over across the county. The province or the county went to tender looking for a provider that could, basically one provider or group of providers that could handle the whole county, so they didn't have to deal with all separate entities. I think in Midland, it's a bit of our loss in losing Angela as the funded person who was connected to everybody. But I'm told, be patient, and we're going to have a meeting actually in the next couple of weeks to get introduced to the new assertive outreach team through Waypoint and Busby Center, who's going to be doing that role in our community. I don't know if One Community Solutions is still part of this, but there's a lot of things happening in tandem, and I can't wait for this council and the community that follows us to learn more about this assertive outreach team and hopefully record some wins. I hope they set up shop and then they're not driving from the Busby Center every day, because we definitely need more than a once or twice a week presence in Midland to replace somebody like Angela. Shelter access, correct me if I'm wrong, and I've been preaching this online, along with some of my, echoing criticisms from the community about things that that a lot of people, I think the majority, find unacceptable in our community. Certainly not all in the hands of homelessness, but shelter access is by the 211 coordinated access system. Is that a true statement?
Could you say that again? Sorry.
If somebody wants to access shelter,
Right.
even though in all likelihood your beds are full, because that's what coordinated access is all about, is again, it's not reserved for Midland people experiencing
right.
homelessness.
That's right.
Is 211 the
Yes.
pathway to access those beds, or can they just show up, knock, knock?
Well, they can do either. They can do either. They can go through 211. Usually when someone calls 211 from Midland, it's because we've told them we don't have a bed and then we have to help them find a bed. So that's where 211 comes in. Most people in our immediate community either know of us or get sent to us by a local professional of some sort. So we have people coming in every day looking for a bed. And we do use 211 to assist them when we can't help them.
All right, thanks. Because at the county, we're kind of driven to always drive people to 211 as the
Yeah.
first call. And, surprisingly, maybe not surprisingly, a lot of people experiencing homelessness aren't complete neophytes. They have cell phones. Maybe don't
Well,
have data plans, but
There's a reason for that.
please.
A cell phone is their only means of communicating if they don't have a home. If they don't have a place to live, if they don't have a cell phone, then they truly are alone and abandoned. So cell phones are a given. Sounds like a luxury, but it's not. It's their lifeline.
Right. So I wasn't saying that to be critical, just making an
I'm just
observation that this
making sure
211,
everybody understands
yeah.
that.
it's available to, this 211 system's available to everybody. And that is the path that we're supposed to steer people through to find any social services in the county,
Yeah.
including beds. And what I'm led to believe is that part of this new funding for the assertive street outreach team, one of the reasons and rationales is because they actually provide transportation. So if, and I use if, there is a bed available at Busby or at Lighthouse or one of the other shelters, they can be transported there by this team so they can access that bed with no guarantee they'd be rehomed to Midland because there's no beds to come back to. So something I've been trying to promote online. Some people are challenging me that it's BS, basically, I can't tell you that there's a bed when you call 211, but to find a bed, it's 211. I just wanted to make sure that I'm not giving, from your perspective, the wrong advice. So harm reduction came up. I didn't know that you were distributing harm reduction items, which would include syringes, and I'm assuming the little alcohol wipes and maybe saline and other things. When did you stop distributing those things?
Just this week. I made the phone call this week. It's done. We're not doing it any longer.
Okay, fresh. All right, perfect.
Yeah, very
Now,
fresh.
when you were, and I understand the rationale for it, I'll be completely transparent and upfront here. Even though I know there's a lot of empirical evidence that supports harm reduction, I struggle with supporting harm reduction. I take my lead from the province through the health unit down here, but I know there's compelling evidence on one side that it's the best way to go, but I just see what happens with it. And I've also seen what happens without it, to be fair. But the reality is, were you also providing a sharps disposal container of any sort, or what was it a needle exchange where four syringes meeting four back before you get another four?
If we were handing out a harm reduction kit, we also hand out, there's a small box that syringes fit in, and syringes and probably some other things that might have been used as well, like wipes or soiled wipes. And we ask them, and we remind anyone that receives a kit that they are to dispose of the paraphernalia in that box, because then it's protected, it's sealed. It's not a prick risk for anybody who might pick one up. So that's the entire kit includes the disposal unit.
All right.
But the reality is, if somebody is using and is a heavy user, then chances are they're not going to have the conscious thought to dispose of their garbage appropriately.
Yeah, we see that. And I know it's not just Midland, but it's kind of new to us, experiencing on the scale that we seem to be experiencing it on right now. So that's good. And in my mind, it's good news that, that you're not handing these things out downtown. However, it's not like they're not going to be accessible, because the health unit does provide these. And I'm hoping that it's as much as they can, it's a 5 out, 5 in kind of thing, or, just to try and reduce the litter that's in schoolyards and in businesses and people's backyards.
You won't get any argument from any of us from that.
And just a reminder too, that your guests are not prisoners. They're not serving a sentence in your building when and if they choose to leave, if the doors are open. I guess if it's after lockup, they leave, they don't come back.
That's right.
But while you are open, they come and go, they can use the bathroom, access your services, maybe flop on a couch for a while, but when they leave, they're free to roam the community and access any public spaces like any other person in our community, right?
Absolutely.
Our guests, and sorry, I'm going through questions that I've been asked by people that I didn't know the answer, and I want to avail myself of your expertise tonight. When guests come into the shelter, are they searched or their bags searched as a condition of entry to make sure they don't
Yes.
have weapons and drugs?
Yes, they are not physically searched, but we do a bag search, and we actually have the guest empty their whatever bag they are bringing in, and we do that. But also, if you come for a tour, see what the shelter really is. You'll have a much better understanding of what we do and how we do it. When you enter the shelter, our guests all come in from the Easy Street entrance, so where the elevator is going to be. They come up a set of stairs, and when they reach the shelter level, there's a foyer that has lockers in it. The lockers all have a lock on them. The locks are all controlled by staff. So when they come in, those bags are not meant to go into the shelter directly. They're meant to stay in that foyer locked in a locker. They have access to their lockers. Again, they're adults, but they have to ask a staff member to unlock their locker for them. And the staff member stands there while they put in or take out whatever it is movement they want to do with their locker. And then the locker is locked again. So in their bedrooms, there is a bed, and there is a small clear plastic container with a lid that they do have access to. They can keep a small amount of personal items. So maybe a change of clothes, maybe a sweater, shoes, maybe a wallet. If they're trusting enough to leave a wallet out. But you won't go in and find, you shouldn't ever go in and find a book bag full of stuff, knapsack full of items in the bedrooms that people have easy access to. They are restricted.
Thank you. I realize I'm lobbying you some things that you and I both know I already know, but I think it's important to have this conversation while I have you here, if you don't mind.
I don't mind.
So what about education when guests come in about rules and consequences?
When they first come in, they meet with the staff, obviously. The staff goes through a process with them. So they are informed of the rules and the regulations of staying at the shelter. They sign a document that says they've read them, they understand them. We have a conversation with them about what those rules mean and what the consequences are if they can't live with those rules. Again, they're not prisoners. They're free to leave. If they don't like the rules, they don't have to be there. And if they say they like the rules and they disregard the rules, we'll say it for them, that they don't need to be there. So it's not a free-for-all. We give as much autonomy and freedom as we can, as much respect as we would have for anyone else. But there are limits on their behaviors. We also, personal information is taken at that point and put into a computer program for the county called HIFIS, which is all the documentation the county requires to allow us to get funding for the person that we're housing.
Perfect. Thank you. I was going to bring up HIFIS, so I'm glad you did. That's absolutely critical. Those are the metrics that they rely on to know the capacity.
It's all the documentation, the statistics, it's how anybody gets to know what's actually going on out there in the province, never mind in Midland.
So somebody was non-compliant and, caused problems in the shelter. Maybe they committed an assault or a theft or, assaulted staff. Does that kind of information about that person get entered into their record on HIFIS so that a future intake worker who may have be new to the organization would know about that risk?
Nod yes or shake your head no. So I don't know if you could all hear that, but what Stephanie just reminded me is there is a piece in HIFIS where you can document that this particular person could be a concern going forward.
Right. So it isn't Groundhog Day for people that are
No.
the minority that cause problems in shelter. Okay. I think that was the laundry list. However, I will reiterate concerns and complaints and frustrations focus primarily around the feeling of safety around the shelter and its nearest neighbors. Smoking too close to the building, even by staff, has been brought up as a concern because they typically will see them right out front on Elizabeth and it's too close to the entrance by the health unit rules. But I'm just saying, these are things people have brought up, the garbage that is around the shelter area, discarded syringes and drug paraphernalia. However, I suspect that may have been related to the safe supply. And with that tamped down, perhaps the neighbors will enjoy some change in behaviors and the litter, literally next door neighbors to you. These are things we're hearing over and over again. We have our other issues with people, of course, who aren't availing themselves of your service, like Hammock Guy, right, from last week. And there's other people that are in encampments and we're visiting them to make sure that they're being connected with the services they need while also telling them that they can't stay on this property. Just, you don't get to live like that. We've watched encampments grow to be dangerous, like mortally dangerous, after they're left unchecked for almost a decade in Barrie. Unfortunately, it takes something really bad and sobering to happen for people to kind of wake up and decide that certain things can't be allowed anymore. But the opposite side of that is what you see on Mulcaster and Barrie with tents and people just living because either they don't want shelter or they have pets or there's other barriers to shelter or their addiction is too chronic to allow them to basically be locked up overnight without using. There's just a variety of reasons why people are going to still live rough. So we're dealing with that on a much smaller scale in Midland, but it's not lost on any of us that we still have the unenviable badge of being number 3 in homelessness for Simcoe County. 1 being Barrie, 2 being Aurelia, and 3 being Midland. So we've got a lot of work to do. It is going to take a joint effort. There will be frustration. There will be anger. There will be ignorance. There will be stereotype. There will be all of that. And not just from council, but from the community at large, because we're just people who live in our community as well. Just that we tend to bear the brunt of the complaints. People will say things to us that they wouldn't say to your face,
I
and
hope.
they'll say anything to us on Facebook, apparently. But anyway, it's a struggle. So I do, again, appreciate you exposing yourself to the Q&A tonight and some of the criticism, whether or not it's valid or not, it's the perception is that you and your staff and your team play maybe a larger role than is fairly ascribed in some of the problems we're having in our community. So we'll continue to support you. And as a reminder, that $2,100 a day, the biggest way people can support aside from volunteering is to participate in the coldest night of the year. It's your biggest fundraiser. You rely on those funds for operational spend. Like, what is it, 70% of your funding? Or is it, I got it backwards, 30%? It's a big chunk of your funding that the county doesn't, from the province flowing through the county, there's a big gap.
Yes,
So
there definitely
coldest
is.
night of the year, join us when you see the advertisement for that. I think it's in February, right? It's generally cold.
It's the end of February.
So consider
Coming up
that
quickly.
as a way to donate and follow you on Facebook and your website and try and look for when there's calls for supplies and needs, clothing and whatnot. Closing the shelter is not realistic. First of all, we can't. Moving it someplace else, again, not realistic. And again, we can't. Municipality has no say or influence over this. It's zoned properly. It's operating legally. It's a privately owned building. Held the county, I think, holds the mortgage on it. So you're here. We need to accept the reality, try and encourage doing better. And that includes ourselves and the rest of our community in tolerance and empathy. And asking you if there's things that you can do to help us, to help tamp down some of the concerns. Be as creative as you want and as you need to be. And our pledge is we're going to keep listening to you, keep listening to the community, taking the criticism, but also, I think, unabashedly asking these awkward, tough questions, and sometimes having to hear the answers we don't want to hear. So, for my part, thank you for this. I'll continue to avail myself of your tours. And thanks for being here tonight and exposing yourself to the risk of, 8 of us staring you down and browbeating you for things that are out of your control and out of ours.
Counselor Major hasn't spoken and he has a question. I apologize.
She's gone, I think. No, I just got a quick question. So does it have to be 21 different people every night, or do some go back night after night? Because I remember years ago volunteering at the church, and we end up, the one guy got a place on Elizabeth Street and then he got a job at Baytech, but he was in a lot of nights at the church. But where you guys are, is it like 21 different people every day, or can some end up staying a couple nights?
It's not 21 people every day. It's 21 people at any given time. And the length of stay depends on circumstances. So we have 2 community college students who are just about to graduate with their diplomas and look for employment. They came here as part of their college placement and came to the shelter saying, I'm supposed to be at this nursing home to start my final placement, and I can't find a place to stay. So they're staying with us. They're going to be taxpayers in no time. Well, one of them has already been hired. So you got 2 new taxpayers. You've got, it depends on circumstances. We have people who are very difficult to house for varying reasons. They're medical, they're psychological, they're poverty. Those people may stay with us longer. But so we don't have a hard and fast. I know when we first started with Out of the Cold and then with the shelter, there was, I think we were allowed up to a month stay. And then we would literally tell people they had to leave. And that's when, and then they started shelter shopping. They'd go from here to Aurelia to Barrie and back to us again when they were allowed. And that happens in reverse as well. We get people from other communities because they outstayed their welcome wherever they're coming from. So it very much depends. Some people are only there for a bit. So some circumstances we are able to help them get straightened out quickly, in which case they move on quickly. but it very much depends on their own circumstances.
Okay, I just want to thank you as well, Rosemary. You answered a lot of questions tonight.
There's one gentleman here who's got his hand up if he can speak.
We can't do that, sorry. It's not a public meeting. I apologize. You can send us a letter. We'll all get it and read it. And I just wanted to thank you again. There was a lot of hard conversations tonight, which I wasn't really sure was going to happen. But I think getting through hard conversations and listening to each other, we get further, right? We
Absolutely.
can work better together.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Thank you for listening.
All right, quickly moving along to 15.2, Fusion Sports Parks. Co-founder of Fusion Sports Parks to present to council. Did you stay? Thank you. Okay, so it looks like we've lost Fusion Sports Parks. I do apologize.
So this organization reached out to me. They create sort of mini fields. So they're going to come back to us at some point. I'll invite or are they back online? Oh, they're online. Okay, great. Yeah, because I know I couldn't really tell them what time this was going to happen. So Alex, thank you for bearing with us. These meetings, you just never know when they're going to, some of our issues are quick, some are not. So
I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you for hearing me out. So can everyone hear me okay? Perfect. I'm at my son's soccer practice just finishing, so I'm sorry I'm not at a desk. So my name is Alex Delashuka, and I'm a co-founder of Fusion Sports Parks. The other co-founder is Canadian legend Atiba Hutchinson, who is our former captain of our men's national team and this year's World Cup ambassador for the 2026 World Cup that's coming to Canada, USA, and Mexico. So the purpose of our visit today is to talk about mini soccer courts. We've already launched this in Brampton to great success. And essentially what we're looking to do is revolutionize or amplify the game of soccer into micro sports. And essentially what that means is we're looking to go to communities and municipalities and ask for land that is not being optimized and repurposing it with mini soccer courts. And the research behind it is quite lucrative. It's the fastest growing sport in the country. And with the World Cup upon us, it will be the sport that many kids will play. And we saw this in Brampton. If you ask Mayor Brown, they are literally kicking kids off the fields when they come available because it is just a different game to play. And what we did in Brampton is we asked council to identify land that is not being optimized or used in the community and how can we repurpose it. And what we did in Brampton is we identified a lawn bowling facility. Not many people were playing lawn bowling in soccer in Brampton anymore. And we brought forth a plan to change the lawn bowling to a 50 by 90 soccer court. Now, the 50 by 90 is quite strategic in that for kids, it creates 10 more touches on the ball on average per game. So my son, if he goes to play an 11v11 or a 9v9, he's touching the ball 3 or 4 times. In a 50 by 9 facility, it's more touches on the ball, more fun, more fitness. Kids gravitate towards the sport like they do in Europe. For adults, it's preventative medicine. If you asked me to go play an 11v11 game right now, A, I couldn't find a team, and B, I wouldn't be able to make the physical commitment. 5v5 is a lot easier to find, and it's growing. So what we are looking to do is what pickleball is doing to tennis. These 50 by 90 courts are all over Europe, all over South America. And we think if partnered in a right location, it'll bring the community together, it'll bring players together, and it'll continue to grow the game for the betterment. So our proposal is quite simple. We'd like to work and replicate what we've done in Brampton and in Toronto. We've been awarded the World Cup contract to build 3 courts in Toronto and 9 more to go. And we'd like to work with your team to identify locations that you think may benefit from an opportunity like this. We're confident it'll get the community out. We're confident it'll capture the World Cup fever that is hitting the country. And the beauty of having someone like Atiba on our team is we're not just ribbon cutting. After the courts are created, we stick around and create programming. We create tournaments, and we try and get kids from all aspects to join the game. So that's really our presentation in a nutshell. I really do appreciate the opportunity, and I'm open to any questions or comments that may come as you went through the deck or heard our motion.
Thank you. Is there anyone on council who has any comments or questions? Mayor Gordon.
Thanks. I just want to lead this off that, we can't, this isn't like a financial ask because this would, if there's interest in council, this would come to us at our budget, which is not that far away. We also have our Parks Master Plan coming. If we wanted to, if we're interested in this, but wanted to move it further down the road, that would be a couple of years away. But this opportunity for these mini pitches for the beautiful game was pitched to me, pun intended. And I could think of places in our community where something like this would fit. I have no idea what the cost is for these. I didn't ask the question because I didn't want to pre-sell this. I just suggested that, we need to hear from the proponents what they're doing in other communities, what it looks like. And I figured there's probably at least 1 or 2 counselors that are really giddy about this concept. And I said it would be warmly received by at least 1 or 2, one of which I'm looking at right now. But if there was interest, then this could be something that would be brought up as a council request at our upcoming budget in the next couple months. And backgrounding would be whoever counselors or counselor wanted to bring this forward would then engage with you, Alex, and your team to, to flesh out what the costs are, capital, OpEx, the whole mess, so they could put a really well-informed plan, which I'm sure you have something that could probably be rinsed and repeated for us in front of council to consider at our upcoming budget. The big challenge is this is the last budget before election. It also tends to be the one where we cinch our belts in the most. With the one after budget is usually the one that, bags of money gets dispensed at, depending on who gets voted in. So it's a tough year at the end of the term to come asking for this. But again, if the price is right, if the belief that the ROI is there for our community, because we do have 3 large pitches right now, rarely are all 3 used. And we've actually been sort of soft contemplating turning some of it into parking, just so we'd have more people, but that's a whole other conversation. But there are locations in our community where a small pitch like this could fit quite nicely. And that's why I wanted you to come in and talk to us about this and see if it resonated with any of the council members here as we head into budget. So thanks for the presentation, and I'll turn the floor over to any of my peers who've got questions for you.
Councillor Ball.
Thank you. Mayor Gordon was looking at me because I've been researching some soccer options. I respectfully disagree. The fields are used all the time. My kids play soccer. They're packed. I'm in conversations with the soccer club all the time. A lot of our soccer club has moved to other municipalities because we do not have lights on our field, and we don't have enough space for players. So this is an interesting concept for me because I was already looking at bringing light costs forward, which was a cost that was making me cry. So this one might be a better sell as it gives us more for our money. I'm hoping. Looking at the slide here saying $277,660,000. I don't know if that is the actual cost, but I would love to discuss further if you don't want to get into the financial logistics right now. And then we can come up with a more wholesome plan if it's even feasible for our community. If you want to give me like a high level sort of cost right now, so I know a ballpark number, that would also be great.
Yeah, Yeah, you're in the range. That number can actually come down if it's site serviceable, i.e. if we go on a tennis court, if we go on, if there's minimal grading, you're in the ballpark. We've done, for the project we're doing in Toronto, we're going on an existing tennis court, and that cost is a lot cheaper than when we have to service the land. So if time is of the essence and cost is of the essence, if you can identify locations, tennis courts, anything that's flat is really quick to move. And we're hoping to capture the World Cup fever here. So a lot of people will be drinking the Kool-Aid during and after the World Cup. And this will be something that we find communities gravitate towards. It's a lot of fun.
Thank you. I'll reach out to you separately.
Thank you.
Councillor Meredith.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Prost, and thank you, Alex, for the presentation. Most these smaller courts would be, you know, you mentioned about the touches for the kids. They have more fun. You know, just like in hockey, when you have NTR rinks, smaller rinks, their skills get better. You're touching the puck a lot more. So this looks very interesting. The one question I do have, what are the size of these courts compared to a regular soccer field? Is this like
50 by 90.
So I'm not sure what,
Oh, yeah, so it would be almost 1/3. You could probably fit 3 courts on a full-size soccer field right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Then that's, I think Mayor Gordon knows where I'm going with this one. So if we were to entertain this and turn one of our soccer fields into, let's say, 2 fields with some parking, because we have a parking issue down there, this could really work for the town of Midland. We have a lot of kids playing the sport, and then we would have 4 soccer fields versus 3. So, and then at a much lower cost, because we have a you know, it's already a soccer field, so we don't need the fencing, so forth. So, anyways, thank you for the presentation, and it's certainly something to think about.
Thank you.
Follow up, Councillor Ball.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up to Councillor Meredith. Actually, the smaller kids playing soccer, our fields, they're already dividing in half when they play. So they have 2 separate games. So 4 teams going on 1 soccer field right now.
That's a good point. You can actually chop our fields into 2 fields too for like little kickers. So you would go horizontally, which is what we're doing in Brampton. It's picked up such momentum in Brampton. I don't know if you guys know, there's a rec center called Save Max. The parking lot is not used. We're putting 3 more on there because the demand from the community is just so big. So we'd love to try one just to gauge it. We can move quickly. And when I say quickly, 6 weeks, we can have a court built. So it can move fast. We have 3 in our warehouse in Vancouver that are coming for Toronto. But yeah, we're excited to get going just because we're so passionate about soccer and we know people are going to love it.
Follow up, Councillor Meredith.
Yeah, sorry, one other question. Is this AstroTurf or is this real turf that you put in?
AstroTurf.
Okay. Is your application, do you do anything with real turf?
Yeah, we can do both.
Okay, thank you.
We can do both. If you look at Atiba Hutchinson Courts in Brampton, it has the fencing and the AstroTurf on it as well.
Sorry, did you say it's 50 by 90? That's
50
what
by,
you're for? Thank you.
yeah, 50 by 90. The last thing I'll say is the building the courts is one thing, and we're super excited about that. It's the programming that we're really excited about. So after the court is built, we would engage the community, and I know I'm at time, so I'll be super fast. But we have every year what's called the 13 Assist Cup, and its kids would have to complete a bingo card of 13 great assists. They'd have to submit it to the club or the community, and that gets them an entry into the tournament. So in Brampton, we're like create a lemonade stand, donate the proceeds to charity, make a friend at school that wasn't yours, go talk to your grandparents about their childhood. So you got to complete a bingo card. You complete the bingo card, that gets you into the tournament. And then our team comes and we do like a festival. And that's how we get more people to join the game. And you'll have different levels, like beginner, immediate, and advanced.
I don't see any more hands up on council. I'd like to thank you very much for your presentation and the information. I think we're looking forward to hearing some more.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye now. Good night.
Night. Okay, moving along quickly to 16, no, not yet. That's okay. 16.1, County of Simcoe Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee, Midland Representative and member Stephen Lauren to provide an update to council. And I appreciate you waiting so long this evening.
Hi, everybody. My name's Steve Lauren. For those who haven't met me yet, grew up with Sheldon. Known Bill for a long time. What I do for the committee, I am the civilian representative for the town. We overlook plans, designs for new parks, new public access buildings, including community outreach hubs. We just did a big one in West Street North in Aurelia and on Simcoe Street in Bradford. These hubs are incredible locations. We review these facilities and then we give our recommendations on how to make them better to councils such as yourselves and to the Simcoe County Council. Then those decisions are ultimately made by you guys. Some of the things that I've found in the Midland area is there's been, knowing I was coming here, I asked residents in the Midland area, what are the 3 biggest concerns they have for accessibility? And I got thousands of replies from changing barricades in parks. The one on 4th Street, the entrance to the triple piers, the barricade covers the entire walkway. I can't get around it in my wheelchair and a lot of people can't either. So it's changing structures like that. But the 3 main things that I got as replies, and I'd like to share them with town, is downtown core. When we did the big dig, why was sloping the entrances not considered? A lot of us with accessibility needs cannot access most of the buildings from the King Street entrance. We are required to go and use the alleyway to access these areas. It's very difficult. And I know a lot of people who refuse to outright shop downtown because they won't go down the alleyways for safety reasons, which some of those reasons were discussed here tonight. Another one was the parking at Georgian Bay General Hospital. Handicap parking is down near the emergency entrance, which is great. But if you're going for outpatient services or there to visit a patient, you now have to park and climb a fairly steep incline to get to the entranceway. I didn't realize how hard it really was till I went to visit a friend of mine over the winter. I couldn't make it up the hill. The third thing is accessible housing in the Midland area. We have a severe lack of housing for people with accessible needs. And it's not just people with accessible needs like myself. We're finding a challenge with most accessible units are being reserved for low income or geared to income housing only. They refuse to change those units that have wheelchair accessibility to the ones that are paying full market. They refuse and want to keep them as the geared to income. I know because I've been on a waiting list for 10 years now. My accident happened in 2015, and within a month I started applying places knowing I'd be confined to this chair for the rest of my life. I'm still on that waiting list 10 years later in Midland. So this is a very big concern that when we build housing, that we not only just consider accommodating those with accessible needs who need the affordable housing, but those with accessible needs such as myself who do not qualify for accessible housing. I make too much money at my job. I can't even apply for a geared to income location. And that's making it extremely difficult for a lot of our community to find accessible housing. I know of over 100 people in Midland in a wheelchair. How many have you seen in public? We don't go out because the town's not accessible. And if any of you think it is, I'd like to challenge you to spend a day in my chair and really experience what it's like to have accessible needs and what it's like to live in the town of Midland. We are doing our best to try to make things more accessible for everybody, from changing barricades to giving suggestions on the new park that's coming to Midland. You know, benches closer together so that people with walkers have more areas to stop and rest. Overhangs on and shelters that get us out of the rain when we're in the parks. Picnic tables without a bench so that we can actually pull up and eat with our friends. These are things that aren't always considered from a person who doesn't have these disabilities. And it can be something as simple as adding more lighting or a tactile surface for those with visual impairments, or adding an accessible outhouse to Midland Bay Landing. And I'd love to thank the staff because I put that request in personally after watching a young lady have to leave with her family because she couldn't use the outhouse. Luckily, I told her that the Chickamick office was open at the time and they were able to go up there so she could use the facilities and come back down to enjoy Midland Bay Landing. I want to thank the staff because it was 5 days after the request was put in that there was an accessible outhouse. And I use it now on a regular basis. And I've talked to the guy that cleans it and he's said it's used more than the regular one now, which tells me there was always the need. It just was overlooked. So I really would like to invite anybody that would like to spend a day in my chair. I'd be more than willing to lend it to you, because until I ended up in a chair, I didn't realize how hard things really were for the accessible community. I hope to continue working with the town. I hope to continue working on the committee in order to make not just Midland, but all of Simcoe County more accessible for everybody. If anyone ever has any questions or concerns, I would be more than happy to help out. The staff here know how to get in touch with me. If any of you have any questions you'd like to know about, please feel free to ask. I'll do my best to answer them.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lauren. And thank you for all that you do for the community and the education you provided to us this evening. Certainly to me, thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor East.
I just wanted to compliment you, first of all, and thank you for being on the committee. It's great that you're bringing a whole new facet to stuff we would overlook for sure. I'm so happy that you're in political realm now. I've been following you for years and I love your stance on a lot of stuff, but it's nice that you're actually a voice that can speak for people. And that is why I'm going to say next that I really feel in the future you should be running for politics. But
thank you.
It's so great to see you.
Thank you, Sean.
Councillor Major.
Yeah, thanks for your talk. I took a course a few years ago and I'm not in a wheelchair, but when you go around the province or around towns and you look at things and you go, well, they're not going in there. They're not doing this. They're not, you know, even a parking lot. There's a couple in Midland, I'm not going to get into it, but it's not suitable. The grade's wrong or whatever. And after I took that course, and you just kind of look around and you realize there's so much that isn't accessible to you. And it really does amaze you when you stop and look at things. You can't even go into a business to spend your money, like you said. And that's not only in Midland.
No, it's everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. And the same thing, if you go to a facility and you can't, either the grade's too much or whatever. So there's, I guess as a society, we have to put more thought into it. And
I find that it's hard for people who haven't been in this situation like I'm in or have an impairment to actually see past, and even I fall into it. I find on the committee, I'm always advocating for wheelchair. I don't like steep inclines. I don't like, no offense, but the crosswalks where you have all the little bricks just shakes the hell out of me trying to cross. It's things like that, that if we were consulted just that little bit more, we could try to make such a big difference. Like I said, the gate, I park at 4th Street and I like to go down to the Triple Piers. I can't get to it. I have to get out of my chair and pull my chair up and around because I have tilt restrictors that won't allow me to get back up from the ground onto the paved road. There's a green barricade that covers the entire area. I cannot access that area, so now I have to park down by the fire department and wheel myself all the way down that way. So it's just small little barricades that could be changed, or like I said, adding an outhouse to Midland Bay Landing. It may seem like such a tiny little thing to so many, but to somebody like me, it means the world. It opens back up the ability to go out into public and be part of the community. And in the last 10 years, I found it very hard to do that. I didn't realize myself, and I've worked with Salvation Army, St. Vincent de Paul. My family has always helped out in the community, volunteering. Bill and the town actually gave my parents an award last year because of their community outreach. The problem we find is always, unless you have been in this situation, it's hard to see it. I don't always advocate for the blind. When we're at the committee, there's a lady has a seeing eye dog. And I don't always register that when I'm advocating, I'm supposed to be advocating for every disability. And I get stuck in the rut of advocating just for me in the wheelchair. So I can understand how people, when they see a plan or they see a new park design, the fact that how is a person in a wheelchair going to access this? How is somebody with a seeing eye dog going to get themselves and the dog in there? You know, our community hubs that we're building, the one in Aurelia and Brampton, we've gone so far as to add water fountains for the dog, for the seeing eye dog. You know, not just an area for it to relieve itself, but to actually get a drink while there. It may be something so minute like that, but it does make such a huge difference in our lives. And like I said, I would love for you to take me up on it. I'll put my prosthetic leg on for the day and hop along beside you, but come and see what it's like for somebody in a wheelchair to experience Midland. Park at HDG at the hospital. Try to go up through outpatient services. See what it's actually like. It's not as easy as a lot of people think. And it really opened my eyes after my accident. So I'm glad that I can advocate for those that are less fortunate than a lot of us. And I hope I can continue doing that, not just for this council, but for the future councils.
Councillor Meredith.
Yeah, thank you, Deputy Mayor Prost, and thank you, Steve, for all opening our eyes a little bit here. And you know, some of the little things that you just said, it's like, yeah, you know what, we overlook it. And thank you for your you know, your commitment to the advisory committee. And when new projects come up, you know, or keep on with your suggestions. Yeah, I'm glad that staff, you know, listen to you, your request, and then if you have bigger ones that need councils, you know, to advocate for you, then bring them forth.
I plan
Yeah,
to.
thank you.
I'm thank you for taking the time to allow me to do this. I really appreciate it.
Mayor Gordon.
Thanks for coming, Steve.
Thanks, Bill.
I'm so proud of the work you've been doing on our behalf of the county. Man, you needed someplace to target and focus all of your energy.
Yes, I did.
Because you had a lot. And I could see that. And even when it would anger is an energy too, there's a song there. But anyway, I think you were doing an incredible job before. It just, you lacked the capacity to affect the change that you were so passionate about. And you're doing it now.
Yep.
And you've been doing it since we put you on. Like, it was a no-brainer for me when I asked you to please consider joining this committee. And you're killing it. So again, I'm so proud of what I knew you had it in you, and I'm watching it happen, and I think I got lint in my eye here, but you're doing such a great job. So
It may not just be for Midland. It's like a lot of our stuff, like I said, the Aurelia facility. I would love for the Midland area to get a hub like the Aurelia facility. It has ODSP, WSIB, everything is right there in that building. They have programs that they do for food outreach, that they help do shopping for the people that live there. It is all around probably one of the better set up buildings I've ever seen in my life for community outreach. And I would love to see something like that brought to the Midland area.
So that wish could be partially granted, probably not on that magnitude yet, but we are talking with the county about a parcel of land that has an existing seniors affordable and accessible, well, not accessible, that's the problem, residents in town. But the land that they'd like to expand on to bring it to a total of 100 units, which would be totally accessible, because part of this is an expensive elevator that needs to go in, involves moving a water tower, which is not an inexpensive, trivial matter. So we are still in the throes, and I call it that because it almost feels like a battle on who's going to help pay for this. But our goal is to get that done with the county, and we see this brand new hub, this excellence hub for affordable and accessible seniors housing in Midland coming soon. It would have been lovely if it was this term, but realistically, with the way things are in the economy and all these other struggles, it's probably going to be next term. So
It's not just the town of Midland that is experiencing these problems. It's all of Simcoe County and every county. Like I said, I've been on a waiting list now for 10 years to find an accessible unit here in Midland. And asking around to everybody on the committee, it's every single town, every single county, everyone has the same problem. There's not enough housing. And when there is, there's not enough accessible units. So I just hope that anything going forward, I know we've looked at some plans. I won't get into it, but we've looked at some plans that are coming to the Midland area for some accessible units that we are very happy that the town is working towards. And we hope that you continue to do this and think of people like us when you do.
well, thank you for everything you're doing on this. Stopthegap.ca is a website for these little portable ramps that businesses can get. It's not a one size fits all, but it is something, they're super cheap. It's almost free, I think, because you can donate to the cause as well. And this is something maybe we could talk to the BIA about and see how many of the buildings downtown that are marginally accessible or completely inaccessible may want to look at getting one of these devices and adding it out onto the large streetscape that we now have.
They are actually really good devices. I've used a few in the Toronto area going to concerts. Entrances that normally had stairs, they now have these triangle ramps that they can move in and out. They're a little steep and I do need help getting up them, but they are making it so that I can actually access the venue. And I'm hoping to see more of that. These are just new things that are being invented all the time. So hopefully businesses will start implementing them. Like I said, though, jump in a wheelchair and go through downtown Midland and see how many businesses you can actually enter.
Well, I'm going to take you up on that challenge, and you and I are going to spend a day.
Sounds great.
And I pledge to do that with you before the snow falls. So
Okay.
I think adding the snow and the ice would be an extra complication that might ruin the experience what you're trying to get me to have. So that being said, super excited about this. Thank you again for coming and updating us. And we'd like to hear from you more often. So maybe quarterly updates would be fantastic.
I would love to
And
do
I
that.
have talked to you in the past about considering bringing your passion to this side of the table. There is an election coming up in a year's time. And,
I think I'd like to get to understand a little bit more how things work. I'm
so when
still
we
learning.
spend that day, you're going to teach me stuff and I'm going to teach you stuff.
Sounds good.
And let's just see how things go, because we're always looking for passionate Midlanders that really want to help move the needle. And as the birthplace of David Onley, we can't just talk the talk when it
No.
comes to accessibility.
No.
We need to walk the walk or roll the roll. I guess I should probably rephrase that. So
We are actually doing, I would say, a lot better than most communities, to be honest. Places like Walmart, who have gone from the two little buggies to now having 5, have made it so that every time I go up, I can now do my shopping without having to wait hours for one to be available. It's, like I said, the smallest things that make the biggest difference in our lives. Thank you.
Before I let you go, Councillor Patel would like to speak.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Prost. Thank you, Steve, for coming in, and I'm glad staff listened and they provided the larger bathroom at the Midland Bay Landing, and I actually like using those myself because they're a little bigger to kind of move around. And like you said, the hospital, I did notice that the pitch is a little high and the parking is all the way there. And that thought crossed my mind every time I go there. How does a person with a wheelchair climb that little incline? Person walking doesn't notice, but I did notice that. And also with the crosswalks you mentioned, being stones, yes, it can be annoying. Person being in a wheelchair because the tire has no air. So you can feel the vibration and you do that 4 times. You're vibrating yourself, right? So, so hopefully moving forward, we don't make crosswalks with patio stones and just stick to the regular asphalt, which are cheaper to maintain. And I'm glad you're going to take the mayor to, for a ride in the wheelchair. Hopefully you can teach him how to pop a wheelie.
No, this one doesn't do that. I get too scared that I'm gonna flip over, so I have
All right.
restrictors that don't allow it.
All right, well,
So
if
you
you
don't
get
have
him
to worry
pop a
about flipping
wheelie,
over.
I want to see the video. So, but thank you very much for coming in and, representing the voice of the community that might feel they're not being heard and putting that voice out there. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lauren.
Thank you.
I'm going to call a bio break. It's 8:50. Well, welcome back. We're going to continue at 17.1 CSR 2025-087 2026 Holiday Observance Closure Schedule. The staff report CSR 2025-087 2026 Holiday Observance Closure Schedule dated September 3rd, 2025 be received, and that the Town of Midland municipal offices be closed at 12 p.m. on Thursday, December 24th, 2026 through Friday, January 1st, 2027, and reopen for regular business hours on Monday, January 4th, 2027, and that the municipal offices shall be closed in observance of statutory holidays and designated public, non-statutory holidays as outlined in the schedule here too. Could I have a mover and a seconder to put this on the floor, please? Counselor Meredith, I'm going to pick different ones this time. Okay, so seconded by Counselor Patel. Okay, do we have any comments or questions? Counselor McDonald.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Prost. I was curious how many of these holidays are actually committed to contracts and how many are extra days that we didn't necessarily have to offer as closed items per days. And are they closed with all the staff that isn't in the contract fully paid? Are they extra paid holidays?
Thank you. Through Deputy Mayor to Councillor McDonald. So 3 of them are non-statutory holidays. So those are the ones that would close us between Christmas and New Year's. So that time frame, it's 3 days. They are in the contract, but not designated as which days, because obviously it changes every year. It is in the collective agreement, and it just says we need to notify them by February 1st what the closure dates will be.
That clarifies that. Thank you very much. We're committed to them.
We are.
I was just going to say, I can't remember where we landed on Remembrance Day because I remember saying I didn't want that closed. So I couldn't remember if I lost that battle or not. You did. I did lose it? Okay. I wanted to make staff go to things while we were there and not give them a free holiday. Like, we should observe together collectively. I'd rather see people having time off actually attending the ceremony, but did I lose that battle? I can't. Yeah. Okay. Please still go, even though you have the day off then. I'm begging you.
Counselor Meredith.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Prost. So this is in the collective bargaining agreement for, not for all staff, correct? 'Cause
Correct.
we're not all
Correct.
entitled to these holidays.
That is correct.
So,
For IBEW, sorry, through you, Deputy Mayor, to Councillor Meredith, yes, through IBEW, it is in there, which is largely our inside, we call them inside workers, which is all of our customer service. So that really,
they're all unionized.
they are unionized, and it eliminates what we can and can't be opened when they are the ones, they're the face of the organization
Right.
at that desk.
So the senior staff and those positions would be not entitled to the 3 days. Because they're not non-unionized staffs, obviously. And there's, I'm not sure how many there are, 26, 30, around there.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And it's management, that includes your management, and
Yeah.
senior management.
So, but everybody's running the, the front counter staff, they're unionized. So therefore, we need to close.
That is correct. We wouldn't be able to have a manager sit at the front desk because that's performing work of a bargaining unit member. We really need those frontline staff to be there.
Yes, so in order to correct this, we need to go to the unions or the next bargaining agreement and kind of say, hey, we want, we want to use leverage some other way to kind of, if we wanted to not be, those 3 days to be open to service the public instead of having, I don't know, 6 extra days off, I guess, or 3 extra days off during the Christmas time. Right?
So that type of language is negotiated through,
Right.
through the collective bargaining. I will also say that also common with most municipalities, I shouldn't say most, with other municipalities, especially local ones, it is quite common practice to close between the Christmas and New Year's. So it's not unique to Midland.
And thank you. And prior to me taking this seat, I would have, said, why is this happening? Like, right? So, but obviously, we're putting it out there, and if whoever's listening, this is why we can't stop this because we won't be able to operate our office because of the our town office because of the collective bargaining agreements.
If I may, Deputy, it also aligns to our goals and our corporate, strategic plan of being that employer of choice, right? These are, I know it doesn't sound like, we're providing that service to the community because we're closed for those 3 days. But when you have a staff member that's hired with 2 weeks of vacation and they have to use, time, they want to really spend that quality time with their family and not on designated days that they have to, spend it, through our closures and whatnot, our designated closures. So it does go very far with that being an employer of choice.
Thank you.
Do we have any further questions? Okay, Council, you've heard the motion. All in favor? Oh, sorry. Councilor
A
McDonald.
follow-up. So it's a done deal before it comes to us, but it still has to come to us?
Through you, Deputy Mayor, yes, that's correct, Councillor McDonald. It is because ultimately we are closing that service to the community. So we are closing, and we've respectfully communicate these types of things with council and the public. It is something we will also be posting through, our public channels, our communication channels as well to the public, so they're aware that we're closed.
Thank you.
Through the deputy mayor, actually just today I did hear that local municipalities have put a policy in place so that they actually just, the policy is in place and then they don't come back on an annual basis to council. So something that we could consider doing.
Like this could have been an email. Is that what you're kind of getting at?
Me?
could have been an email is what you're getting at.
Through the deputy mayor. In the future, yes. So we will strive for that for next year, but yes, it is something that, to Ms. Vanacom's point, it's something that is in the collective agreement that we said would come forward and would come forward to council from a transparency, but in the future, we could put a policy in place and then send you an email.
Councillor Patel.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So to CEO Bun, I think that's a great idea to streamline the policy so this does not come on the agenda and, we don't talk about it because I think we talked about it last year. We're talking about it again this year. So that could be avoided. So thank you. Make it part of the policy, please.
Councillor Meredith.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Prost. I'd rather talk about it every year, just so that if someone's listening in or why the office is closed, it's very informative. And so I don't think we should streamline the policy at all. Let's talk. All right. So we'll see you next. Oh, maybe not. But yeah. Well, it's in October. It might come back up. So we'll have this conversation next year. Thank you.
If there are no further questions, council, you've heard the motion. All in favor? It's unanimous. It's carried. Moving on to 17.2. The staff report CSR 2025-088 Town Hall temporary office closure between 12:30 p.m. and 4:30 p.m. on September 29th, 2025, dated September 3rd, 2025, be received for information. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor East, Councillor Major. Bless you. Late night.
Councilor McDonald's rubbing off on me, these late meetings, and I'm allergic to them.
Okay, council, you've heard the motion. Any comments or questions? Councillor Meredith.
Thank you. I pulled this one and I was just still getting some clarity on the event. And the reason why I pulled it is because we just had not too long ago a full closure of town office, and I'm just wondering why we need to close the office again for 4 hours on I believe it's the 29th of September. That's my question. Thank you.
Through the deputy mayor to Councillor Meredith. So the closure of the office before was a barbecue, a celebration of staff. And this meeting is set out to help educate staff, to talk to staff about the priorities of council and to try to align staff to move in one direction. So I've said this to a few people, but one of the best training I took was they talked about going to a janitor who worked at Nassau, and they said to the janitor, "What is your job? What do you do here?" And he said, "I get a man on the moon." So he aligned his job to be getting a man on the moon. So he understood the connection between what he did and the final goal of the organization. So this meeting is one of those meetings to say, let's get everyone aligned so everyone understands what their role is in the organization and how it helps to meet council's objective, to look at the future goals of where we want to be as Midland. So there will be updates to staff so people hear the same message at once. And there will be some education there and just a way for people to get to know others that are new in the organization and bond and have that relationship so that we, form a team that's greater than it is today.
Well, thank you. That sounds good. And I hope it works, the bonding. So have we done this before?
So through your worship, I don't believe it's been done for several years, if it would likely have been before COVID. So I think it's something that hasn't been done in a while, but something that I'm looking forward to.
Okay, thanks. I would love to hear the feedback if you can share that with council, how it went. And is this at the rec center? Is this where this is going to take place?
Through your worship, yes, it'll be at the rec center, and absolutely would share feedback as to what we've learned. And we're hoping to do a bit of a survey after to see, what went well and what we could do better the next time.
Great. And one other follow-up. So if it's all town staff, does that mean is the rec center closed too on that day as well?
Through your worship, no, the rec center is not closed.
Thank you.
Councillor McDonald.
Thank you. Of course, building some relationships with your coworkers is very important. But my question is, why can it not be done in 2 stages and keep the town hall open? I have mixed feelings about I understand it's good to get everyone together, but also it's probably, we're providing a service, and I think it's important that we stay open, and that doing it in 2 stages could be beneficial, just as beneficial. And was that considered?
Through the deputy mayor to Councillor McDonald, yes, it was. And actually, it's interesting talking to peers, and this is something that local municipalities also do, talking to even Penetanguishee, and they tried it in 2 sort of cohorts to get it to see how that would work. They said that they found there was a disconnect. It didn't work as well. They went back to the one time, but we thought we would start off to get everyone on the same page so you're hearing the same message. And then the opportunity to also hear the same message from feedback that others are saying throughout the session. So, for me, it was something we considered. It would take more time away, and it also doesn't offer the opportunity for that sort of one time and everyone hearing the same. We will try this. We'll definitely be open to any feedback that comes of it. And for me, sort of the closure of that, really the benefits that the organization will have, I think will outweigh that sort of closure for those hours.
Do you have a follow-up?
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor Prost. How is this going to be communicated to the public besides social media?
To the Deputy Mayor, to Councillor McDonald. We will be using our regular channel for service disruption, which is our notice and notices. So that is on the website, and also people can subscribe to that so they get an email about it. It will go out. In addition, this time we've been specifically asked to put it on social media, which is not normally a service disruption channel for us because we're not in control of the algorithms, but we will do it this time in reflection of the feedback we got last time. And then we'll also put it on our phone messaging so people know, and on the website, the regular page.
Hope it goes well.
Councillor Ball.
Thanks. I actually wanted to know about the rec center, like if we're not closing it, how are those employees being engaged? Like if this is such an important thing to close everything else, why aren't we closing that? Obviously, our tenants can be in the building. They have separate entrances, so for the most part, which would still obviously have the need for staff to be there, but maybe they could actually participate.
To Deputy Mayor, to Councillor Ball. Yeah, thank you for that question. There are a number of areas where we can't close. Operations, fire, recreation is one of them. We have facility users, not just our lease people who we could get into the building without, but also we're running the gym, we're running the multipurpose room, we're running the ice. And so we wouldn't be able to close that to the public. It would impact our user groups. It's a public building, and so we try to keep it open. They're only closed 5 days a year. So it's just different, like some of our other areas, like the operations.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. Hopefully you know this, and obviously there's other employees that won't be there, but that they have an opportunity to, I guess, give their feedback prior.
Counselor Patel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I think it's a great idea that we're gonna take time off to talk about work. So you're not really taking time off. I think it increases productivity and staff morale. So this is a great idea and it should be continued. And I think the feedback will be there in a positive manner. And like like Madame Bun said, there's lots of new staff coming in. They should feel that they're an important aspect of the organization. So I think it'll be a good thing for Town of Midland, to bring this initiative and continuing on and building from it. Thank you.
Counselor Major and then Counselor Emeritus.
To Deputy Mayor, to Council Major. Sorry, which sign? The one here. Unfortunately, that sign is not cooperating with us all the time. We can certainly put it on there. I would guess that our other channels will be more effective use of communication than that channel.
Counselor Emeritus.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Prost. I just wanted to get this in here before we approve this. I'm assuming we're going to approve it. So when we took the full day off, the full day closure off, a couple months ago, I'm not sure the exact date. So after and this is the reason why I pulled this, and after the event, the barbecue or the gathering, I asked an employee, been with the town for a long time. And I said, and loved it. It was awesome. Right. And I said, that's perfect. I'm glad everybody was engaged and well deserving and so forth. And I said, well, listen, I said, well, what if that event was on, a Sunday or a Saturday at Little Lake Park? Bring your family, so forth. Would you have attended? Straight answer right away, no. Right. So if you're getting paid, you'll go. If you're not getting paid, you won't go. So so I'm hoping at this meeting, right, which we're discussing town business and so forth. And when I drive around town, and I've done it this year where I pointed out simple things that should have been done that I shouldn't have to, call my CAO and point out specific things that they're actually, when they're driving around, noticing things to possibly pick up the phone and say, hey, did you know this was going on to certain departments? So I'm hoping that from the conversations, the emails that I have expressed, those type of issues come up and we can be better. So, and that's what I'm hoping for, to come out of this, and to bring staff together and get on the same page for our community. Thank you.
I don't see any further hands up from council. Council, you've heard the motion. All in favor? That's unanimous. It's carried. Okay, moving on to 17.3. The staff report CSR 2025 20, or sorry, -085, taxi cab licensing update dated September 3rd, 2025, be received for information. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Counselor Major and Counselor McDonald. Any questions or comments from council? Mayor Gordon.
Thanks. I pulled this report. It's not because I have any issue with it. I just think it's a good kind of stern analysis, quite frankly, of a situation that has been allowed to kind of exist for many years. And with our new manager of bylaws in place, as he's finding out bylaw after bylaw after bylaw, there has been many, many instances in the past where we have been lackadaisical in our enforcement or interpretation, or even dealing differently with different people around the same set of rules. So that's something we've tasked Mr. Kennedy to try and tidy up and remedy. It's no easy task, and it undoubtedly ruffles feathers when, kind of a consistent lack of enforcement by the municipality in previous iterations of your role, quite frankly, kind of led us into a place where, now that you're here and we're expecting you to do your job, which you clearly are, it can ruffle some feathers in the community, whether it's, increased enforcement at our, parking stalls for accessible parking permits, or people that park on the grass because there's no sign that says don't, that make the news. There's just a litany of things that bylaw is tasked with property standards, and, soon we're going to have snow again, and, this guy blew his snow on my front lawn. Like, just, I can't imagine all the tales of what we have to deal with, and you and your team. But this taxi situation is something that for years just kind of worked. Like, it was below the radar. It didn't come up last term at all that I recall, other than COVID and having to make some extensions for things. And this term. So when you read this report, it is, I like the format, the fact that it's chronological. It could be read depending on what tone people choose to ascribe written word, which doesn't have tone really. It could be read as being super, concise, factual, and, direct. Other people can feel it's terse and cold. And I can understand, and I've talked to people that feel both ways about it. I read it as a direct, professional report. And I was quite happy to read it. It gave me a good understanding of the history and the problems that we've had. I've also had the opportunity to speak to both of our taxi operators in the community. And my opinion of them hasn't changed. They're partners in moving people around our community, and have been for decades. And even though it would appear that, they were less than cooperative to comply with the bylaw, and arguably that would be the case, we were equally less than, we didn't really hold up our end of the bargain, which was to make sure that things were enforced until you came along. So, I really appreciate the fact that, we have this sort of history, chronological history of where we came from and where we are. And in speaking to both you and Mr. Farquharson, the shared commitment that I have shared with both of the taxi owner operators, that our goal is to move on from this, get through some of these problems, like vulnerable sector checks that are completely out of our hands. The fact that they're bottlenecked. Matter of fact, it came up in the bear pit with all the ministers forum at AMO. There's some issues, and of course, both the owners agree that we need to have these checks. Nobody's making an argument that we need to drop our shields and make things less safe for vulnerable people, or anybody, quite frankly, that uses our taxi services in town. So I think the commitment seems to be, let's fix any deficiencies in our taxi bylaw, of which you've undoubtedly found many now, that you're going to work, and correct me after I have my little thing here, if any of this is misstated, that you're going to be working with the taxi owners to try and find a good fine tuning of our bylaw that modernizes it, brings it in today's realistic standards, and to get this right and get the draft before council, so that we're not nitpicking the draft when it comes here, because you've already hashed it all out with the stakeholders, being in this case, our two taxi operators, unless we get more taxi operators. So that was my commitment in speaking with them. Neither of them made excuses for why, they fell out of compliance. They explained some rationale behind some of it. And they also totally have owned their role to play in making sure that this condition of employment is met and that they do a better job governing that, and that we resume helping them by, policing it and sometimes reminding them and making sure that the bills get, to them in a timely manner and all these little things. So it sounds to me like there's a real path forward. When you read this report, it seems like, man, things are really dysfunctional and broken. When you talk to the operators and in talking to you about this and Mr. Farquharson, because I did spend some time on this, because I was quite concerned that you were going to take a beating for sins of your predecessors, which didn't feel fair at all, because we brought you here to tidy things up and you're doing it. So I think that I just committed to saying this on the record that, our commitment is to work with the operators to make the best possible taxi bylaw bylaw that could be made, modeling it after other municipalities and right sizing it to our operators here in Midland. And then there's a clear expectation of what the requirements are and what the consequences are for not meeting them, so that we're not, back every year or two making last second knee-jerk tinkering changes to a bylaw that could have just been done properly to begin with. So I know I believe that is your goal, and that's what you've been doing with other bylaws. So I wholeheartedly support that. I'm glad this report was written. It was a real eye opener for me. I didn't realize the problem was quite as bad as it is, because typically we only deal with the individual complaints. We don't see the big picture. So you really brought it all together for us. And it's an opportunity, and through any of these challenges, I look at them as opportunities. And I think that we have a chance to really right size and correct any deficiencies in our taxi licensing bylaw, and to be a really good, responsible licensing body, which is our role, so that we can support the operators and the individual taxi drivers moving forward, so that their needs are met, their liability is looked after, and that our residents have the safest, best taxi service they can enjoy. So that was kind of the thoughts I wanted to share, and the reason why I pulled this, because it seemed a bit too long-winded to do as just a comment if we left it into the the consent agenda. So if there's anything I've stated or misstated, anything in your report, please feel free to correct me, but I've tried to hit all the salient points that I've been talking to Steve about, and to a lesser degree you.
I don't mean to interrupt, but I need to put a motion on the floor to be able to go past 10 o'clock. That pursuant to section 6.2E of Procedure Bylaw 2022-2, Council agrees to remain in session past 10 p.m. in order to deal with the remaining items included on the agenda. I need a mover and a seconder, please. All in favor? That's carried. Only one opposed. Okay. Sorry, you can go ahead now.
Sorry, through the chair, I don't think there's anything to really add. I guess I'll just double down on Mayor Gordon's comment that I've committed to speaking with both owners of the taxi companies to come to a resolution with a new bylaw to come forward, hopefully around, I would say, the February-March area of 2026 for council's consideration, and hopefully move forward in the right direction.
Councillor Ball.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank you for the report. I thought again, like Mayor Gordon was saying, a chronological order. It was really helpful to follow. I appreciated the leeway that was given. I know when we were here in March, we discussed that this was coming up. So people were aware that this was coming, and that we committed to working with the taxi companies then. And I can understand and appreciate how hard it is to get employees to follow through on especially on doing something that hasn't been policed by us, that is 100% on us. It should have been being policed this whole time. Should have been something that was followed through on both parties. It hasn't been. So you are doing your job. You're doing what you're supposed to be doing here. And that's what should have been happening the whole time. Like the public always wanted this to happen. It might seem like we are not working with people, but I think that this report showed that you are trying to give leeway where you can. Uh, and I think that was appreciated and hopefully recognized by the taxi companies that you are trying to do that. And I think it's good that we're cleaning this up now. And hopefully going forward, we can work with them and be able to do a new bylaw. I know we spoke about the cars in the 8 years, the March meeting. So hopefully that can be considered and hopefully both parties feel the ability to move forward. And I guess thank you for your work.
Councillor Meredith.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Prost. Yeah, I would just like to add to, Mayor Gordon basically summed it up, but I have been working behind the scenes with staff. I've been talking to both owners of the cab companies. They've been emailing me, keeping me up to speed on what's going on as I asked them to. We're dealing with a new sheriff in town, right, Rob, and no one's, from the reports that you're pulling out with the revenues that are coming in, people are getting, you're doing a great job. I cannot argue that at all, nor do I don't want to. This is what we made the changes for a reason. Just policies weren't being followed. And now that they are being followed, there is a delay. There's a especially in our with our cab companies, who have been here over 20 plus years, right? And they're getting compliant. They're working on it, but stuff does take time. So working with them to get them compliant, without they have to come to terms, and even Tony, I had many conversations with Tony, and he goes, yeah, some of it's on me, right? But at the same time, I would agree that some of it's on the staff, right? When you do billing, and some bills aren't paid, well, they're not invoiced. So as a businessman, if I don't see an invoice on my table, I don't see an invoice, there's no payment. So as soon as there's an invoice coming, that he's explained, it's been paid. So he wants to come compliant. Paul wants to be compliant. We need to work together to get compliant, and as soon as possible, right? So I want to work together, and I stated this in our last meeting when I think the bylaw came through probably in March, the spring. So that we work together. But working together is talking to the owners, right? And not filtering messages through employees, right? So they deserve that respect, and the respect does need to come back to the town, to Rob as well, to work together and nail this down and become compliant. Without doing major damage to the business, because they're reputable people. They've been here for over 20 years. We want to work with our community. They do a lot for the community. And that's saying that, but Rob, you're doing your job, and I get it. So there's got to be a balance here that I'm trying to work behind the scenes with staff to get there, and we definitely will get there. And if we need a little bit more time to get there, then so be it. But both owners of the company, they fully understand what needs to get done, and they don't have a problem with the fees. They don't have a problem with anything. They want to be compliant. So we know this is a new higher standard that is demanded on, so because you're doing your job, and I can't take that away from you at all. So do what you need to do, talk to the owners, and let's get this wrapped up. And my job will get a little bit easier fall here. So, but I tell anybody in the community that, you know what, I will be their voice, and this is what I campaigned on, and I will be their voice. So till we can get to a resolution. So, I'm not sure if Tony wants to come up to, I know he's in the audience, if he wants to come up to the mic, if we allow him to say a few words, if he chooses to. We've done it before for developers, and if he chooses to come up, we could have a 2/3 vote. If not, then if we think we're on the right page, on the right path here, then fine. But well, I'll ask Tony. Would you like to come up to speak, or you're happy with what you're hearing, or would you like to come up? You okay? Would you well, let's get you up to the mic. All right. So 2/3 vote.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, through to Councilor Meredith. If you'd like to propose a motion, get a mover and seconder just to suspend the rules to allow for a public speaker.
Yep. Thank you. So I'll put a motion in to suspend the rules to allow Tony from Central Taxi to come up and say a few words. Mover.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. We do have the motion moved by Councilor Meredith, seconded by Councilor East. Council, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? The motion is carried, and we will allow a speaker.
Hello? Hi. About this report, I have no problem complying with anything for bylaw. I'm kind of embarrassed about it. It should have been looked after 3-4 years ago. COVID is an excuse for a lot of things. We kind of fell in that same trap. Saying that, we need to work together to kind of make this process easier to move forward. So we have no problem. I know Paul is the same way. The timing of certain aspects is just, we need a little bit more leeway on timing. That's all.
Thanks. And just to be clear, I didn't raise my hand for this because Paul's not here and this is a bit more one-sided. And I did have a good conversation with you, and I thought I paraphrased the commitments that you'd already made. So anyway, just so you don't feel slighted that I didn't put my hand up to have you talk. I think we covered it all here. But anyway, you did talk, and I'm assuming you know what you're sharing is the same kind of commitment from Paul, who's the other operator, Busy Bee, and I believe that even without having to hear from him tonight. But anyway, we'll get through this, and council's expressed the commitment to try and make this thing fit properly, make sure everybody's safe, make sure everyone's compliant, and do what we can so we're not like some kind of nanny state hovering over you about every little thing. You guys, you know how to run your business. We don't get in the way of that. We just need to make sure you're compliant, because it's it's the only area where we're the licensing body.
Absolutely, yeah.
So thank you for stepping up and talking to us anyway. But I knew it without your lips moving. So
thank you.
Councillor Patel.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Pro. So I just want to say this is a great example of staff, and small business working together. There was mistakes made in the past, but let's move on and turn a new page. And, we have town staff, town of Midland, continuing to support small business, make sure they can operate, continue to support the economy of the town of Midland. So this is a great example of that we're going to move forward in the right path. So thank you for, Busy Bee Central and the staff in town of Midland. And the council is here to support whatever goes on to make sure that we continue to move in the right path. Thank you.
Counselor Major.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So council, you've heard the motion, and just a reminder, it was a staff report and to be received for information. So we've heard the motion. All in favor? That's carried. Can't even write my name. Okay, we're on to number 18, notices of motion. I don't think we have any. Moving on to 19, general announcements. Mayor Gordon. Oh, sorry, maybe I'll start at this end. Councillor Major.
All right, so I was up in Ottawa for AMO, and I just want to put a shout out to Quentin and his staff on sidewalks, because when you walk the sidewalks in Ottawa, they're so in disrepair, and you come back to Midland, and I know some of the ratepayers or taxpayers are ticked about spending money, but you go down Midland Avenue, you go down First Street, and I haven't been to all the ones that he's repaired, but it's just nice to know that we're spending money and we're fixing the infrastructure. And if anyone wants to go on bad sidewalks, be my guest to go up to Ottawa. You'll find out what bad sidewalks is all about. So shout out to Quentin, the town of Midland sidewalk specialist, and his gang for doing a great job.
Councillor Patel.
Yeah, and so thank you, Deputy Mayor Prost. We had the pleasure to go to AMO, and I think we got a lot done there. We attended a lot of great sessions. And the one thing we've learned that was very important, the sponsorship part of it. So I think we're going to move in the right path and make sure that there's opportunities for town of Midland to bring in sponsorship revenue and take some weight off the taxpayers. Thank you.
Mayor Gordon.
Thanks. Just before I do my slew of announcements, I'm always good for a few. Perhaps I could pass the mic over to Madam CEO, who could talk about an award that we won at AMO. Again, this is starting to become a pattern, not one that I'm displeased with at all, but or would you like to speak to it, or who would be the best person? All right, you tag team, you're it.
So thank you. Yes, our wastewater team and Andre Pepin was there to receive the award. LAS put out a call for, it was an innovation, and I don't have the exact name right here, but an innovation award. So it was AI technology that Andre and team are using for measuring the temperature in the ground. There were 33 applicants, I believe, and there were 10 selected, and we were one of the, there were 3 selected. We were one of the 3 that received the award for the $10,000. So it was Last year at AMO, we received the very prestigious Peter J. Marshall Award. Again, it was Andre and team at Water Wastewater that put that submission together and did the great work to receive the award. And this year, again, they were up receiving that award. So it did get some billing at the plenary session, and then there was a morning session to talk more about it, a breakfast morning session. So, yeah, huge congratulations to that team for their continual innovative thinking to get things better for the municipality, and they always make us look very good at AMO. So thank you.
Yeah, it sure makes mayor and council proud when you're sitting there among your 443 other peers. And, you know, for 2 years in a row, we're called up to the stage for innovation. Little old Midland, town of 18,000 people, a staff of, you know, barely 200. And here we are up in the bigs, you know, up there with the Mississaugas and the larges out there getting the call out for awards. So, and this predictive analysis, you know, it's not one of those things where you see instant return on investment, but it's helping us make good planning decisions on what roads to rip up, what sections of pipe need to be replaced proactively rather than the really expensive breaks that we have every winter. Because it's way cheaper to proactively dig up a road and fix it than it is to, you know, rip it up at -30 when there's ice and water and it looks like the scene from Frozen, you know, all over your street. So anyway, kudos to staff. I don't know how they're going to keep doing this year over year. They're going to come up with something new. Better be on that stage and podium again. But anyway, super proud, and it's really well deserved. So we got a really busy week coming up. Wednesday, September 10th, the Snowbirds are coming to town for the first time ever. So the Canadian Forces Snowbirds will be performing for us for about a 30 hour, but like a 30-minute set, the kind of set you'd get at like the Toronto International Air Show. We're going to get that over our bay, 5:15, I think it starts. So best to arrive early. Any place you can see the sky over the bay is the right place. So you don't have to, you know, don't have to congregate right around the dock edge, or Midland Bay Landing will be jammed. Pedersen Park could be another great spot to bring your lawn chairs. You know, just if there's any geese there, just shoo them out of the way. Any place you can see the sky, quite frankly. So, you know, I think up on Edge Hill Park would be an awesome view from up there. And there is parking along residential streets. So anyway, I'm just urging people, don't all congregate downtown and make this huge bottleneck mess. Any place you can see the sky over Midland Bay is going to be the perfect view. So that's September 10th, this Wednesday, starting around 5 o'clock. And when they sent me that email when we were at AMO, I called the commander back on Sunday morning. He was having breakfast, and so was I. And of course, I wanted to know what's this going to cost, and you know what kind of logistics and everything. And it's free. I just have to send a letter, you know, asking them to come. So, needless to say, on my phone, 5 minutes later, you know, I'm doing that, and staff was all over it to put the logistics together and get this in place. So, great teamwork and super stoked. Really looking forward to seeing the Snowbirds in Midland. And people will be coming from all around. I mean, all around. So again, expect it to be busy. So all the usual spots you'd think, hey, let's go there. Don't. Pick a non-usual spot that the non-locals wouldn't know about. And you're going to have a great show. Friday, September 12th. So that same week is our second annual Mayor's or Council's Charity Golf Tournament. If you haven't signed up yet, we still have available spots for singles and foursomes. It is $200 each. And, you know, no surprise, $800 for a foursome. That includes a lunch, a cart, all of the stuff you need, you know, short of your talent and skill. And you don't even have to bring that with you, because if you watch me play, I don't have any of that. And, you know, of course, we'll have amazing hole sponsors. There's all kinds of cool sponsors that are making this happen. And then we finish it off with a really, really good dinner and a silent auction, and generosity of many of our sponsors for silent auctions. So that's Friday, September 12th. If you want to know more, just go to midland.ca/golf, and there's links to sign up. Or if you'd like to sponsor, we still have sponsorship opportunities. Or if you just like to provide something or an experience to our silent auction, that would be warmly received as well. The next day, just after we're recovering from golf, Saturday, September 13th, is our neighboring community, Penetanguishine's 150th anniversary. So why am I announcing this? You know, because Penetanguishene clearly did, but they're our closest neighbors and our friends. And so they've got celebrations happening in 3 locations, and I just wanted to shout that out. So location 1 obviously is their town hall. The doors open at 10 a.m., runs to 4 p.m., and it's the Penetangwisheen Week of Welcome. And there's also location 2 is the Centennial Museum and Archives in Penetangwisheen. The doors open 10 to 4 again. There's a community barbecue from 11 to 2, walking tours from 10 to 2. And the last location is their Sports Hall of Fame. Doors open 10 to 4. So if you're wondering what to do on that day, there's no shortage of things to do in North Simcoe, but do think about dropping by historic Penetangwisheen for their 150th anniversary. And then when you've recovered from that day, Sunday, September 14th is the Terry Fox Run. I've got a team that I still need the rest of my council to join me in, by the way, hint, hint, guilt, guilt. Even if you can't raise a ton of money, throw a little bit of pledges in, so we're not only going in with mine. Walk, bike, run, whatever your mobility is, all are welcome in this. Of course, we're raising money for, the good cause of cancer, fighting cancer, and the research that goes with it. And today, of course, we raise the flag for Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. So cancer is top of mind right now in many ways. So there's a full weekend of activities kicking off on Wednesday, September 10th. So if you were thinking, well, what am I going to do around Midland for the next week and a bit? Well, mark these things in your calendar and come on out and join us. Yeah, well, I can't do it all. All right, who's next? Let's talk about OHL. Yeah, no, that's a big deal too. That's Friday and Saturday, but somebody else can do that one.
Sold out. Council can't even get in, so. Barry Colts are coming to Midland. Oh, you want me to keep going?
Oh, on Facebook, they were still said there was some seats. You're not gonna have seats, but it's general admission tickets were available.
I think this Saturday maybe has some tickets. The Barry Colts are sold out from what I saw. We were trying to push our way in, but they said no. I'll have to look if there's Saturday still. That would be great. So get your tickets if there are any. If not, you can beg out front like me. The OHL series. Oh, OLH series. I don't have it in front of me, but it's at our very own rec center and it's very cool. Sudbury is, I think Mr. Farquharson should be really announcing this. He knows more about hockey than I do. So we're pretty exciting for our little town to get Barry Colts and Sudbury Stingers here though. So, do you want to announce it in like a referee voice? Oh, Rob. Okay. There's no takers, but get your tickets if there are any. And if not, I'll see you outside.
Counselor, Counselor Meredith.
Done. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Prost. So a few announcements here. Our Mural Fest is on I believe, September 27th. We're going to have one council meeting before then, so we'll be able to announce it then again. But I just wanted to point out in the downtown, on the patios, we just, the BIA, through grant opportunities, hired the talented local Holly Archer to do some art on the patios, and they look brilliant. What an amazing talent she is. So if you're downtown, check out the art on the patios. And sticking with the BIA, Beth McCormick from Waypoint and the Hero Center, who wanted to have a deputation today to give us an update on the tremendous work they've been under her leadership through the Hero Center, with all the the guys doing great work in the downtown. I wanted to and will probably at our next council meeting give us an update on all the great work they're doing downtown, and how possibly she wants to expand the service. She's come to the BIA for next year to even because they're so productive that they kind of run out of things to do. So we're going to give them more work, and so that'll we'll get you updated on that. And also wanted to thank Nicole French, who's the chair of the BIA, who's keeping the BIA she's the glue that's keeping everything together right now, working very hard. We have, we're looking for a new manager. We had to make some changes on the board, and everything still is going in the right direction. Music is, if you're downtown Midland, the music is is loud and hopefully it gives you a jump in your step and you know, makes you hang out downtown a little bit longer. I'm loving it. So Sunday, September 7th, Dylan's Pizza has us. He does this yearly CLH charity golf event. So if you like golf, you get your practice in on the 7th and come to the Mayor's and tournament on the 12th. So he's hosting that event. And Saturday, September 13th, Mike and Sarah Thor have the Power of Giving. So that's in support of GH hospital fundraiser, and the Thors have been major supporters of the hospital. So that event's going on. So there's plenty of things to do and support in the town of Midland in coming in September. And unfortunately, I can't make them all. So, but that's it for me.
There are still tickets. I just looked. So
Any further announcements? Okay, then we're moving to number 20, which is, I have a motion on the floor, moved by Councillor Patel, seconded by Councillor McDonald, that the Committee of the Whole rise and report. All in favor? Unanimous, that's carried. Back to you, Mayor Gordon.
Thanks. We'll power through this and get this done. Moved by Councilor Meredith, seconded by Councilor Patel, the recommendations of the Committee of the Whole for the meeting of September 3rd, 2025 be adopted as resolutions of council. Council, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Next, moved by Councilor East, seconded by Councilor Ball, the following bylaws, 2025-46, appointed deputy clerk. We got our deputy clerk. And repeal bylaw 2022-23. And bylaw 2025-47, appoint municipal bylaw enforcement officer for the purpose of enforcing municipal bylaws within the town of Midland be passed and enacted. Any questions? All those in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Next, moved by Councilor Major, seconded by Councilor East. That bylaw 2025-48 being a bylaw to adopt the proceeding of regular council meeting of closed session held today, September 3rd, 2025, be passed and enacted. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And last but not least, moved by Councilor McDonald, how fitting. Seconded by Deputy Mayor Prost, that this regular meeting of council with a closed session adjourned at 10:22 p.m. All those in favor? Any opposed? Carried. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Ooh.